York's only local show is back on its new home on York's only local station.
Guess who's back? Back again.
This is the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK.
I'm back.
Now, broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown York studios inside Wellspan Park, here's Gary Sutton.
And happy April 1st to you. I am Gary Sutton. This is the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK, brought to you by Barley Snyder Law Firm. It is the main street of America and York County, Tuesday, April 1st, 2025. And Mark McKenzie is here, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh.
Happy, ready to go, unencumbered by the problems of a beginning of a new day.
Yeah.
But ready to rip. I think
yes, we are.
And I am too. I'm all ready here to start April with even a better attitude than I had yesterday, which is hard to do. I mean, I just, every day is Christmas Eve for me.
Well, today's probably an extra special day for you.
Why is that? Are you going to tell me later?
Oh, you don't know?
No, I don't.
Really?
Oh, I think it was the first day that I ever did a talk show. The anniversary, the first day I ever did a talk show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 25 years ago.
April Fool's Day?
April Fool's Day. Yeah. Well, yeah. I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate inane, stupid things, and so thus I hate April Fool's Day of all the stupid tricks. Although we will cite some of those this morning that people have done.
Yeah.
We will not do any of that on our own because we're far above that falderall.
It's silly.
No, we are.
And we're not silly.
No, we're not. We are very serious.
Foolish on occasion, maybe, but not silly.
Very serious about what we do, and we are semi-professionals.
Anyway,
and,
well, today, it's a special day for you.
First day of the rest of my life.
It is National Trombone Players Day.
Oh, it is. I did not know that.
You didn't bring your horn?
No, I did not. I did not.
Well, that's not any
Although
fun.
I just got it refurbished, actually. I haven't played it. I just keep getting it refurbished and pay money for it and let it sit in my house because I feel like I've done something.
Mm-hmm. Is it like art?
It's kind of like having a workout machine and you use it to hang your clothes on.
Yes.
That's kind of what I'm doing.
Or just like hanging on a wall.
Thank you.
Art.
At the moment, but I will get it out. Mm-hmm. My problem is I don't want to bother my neighbor with my practice. Although if I were them, I'd probably want to hear it. But
is it that loud?
Oh yeah, it can be loud. Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm in a kind of a closed neighborhood, so I'm thinking I'll become like the person nobody likes. Of course, I don't really care because I don't talk that much to my neighbors anyway. But I don't. I'm courteous in that regard.
So, would you ever throw on, say, a Chicago record
and crank it
and play your trombone with the recording?
No, I don't do that. I just don't. It's me. I don't know what it is.
So you just
some kind
play
of character
solo
defect. Yeah,
you either play solo.
Well, I would practice. Yeah, I would practice a little bit of scales, and I would practice just a couple little things, and just to see if I still have any dexterity in doing it.
I see.
I used to be pretty good. There was a time I was a pretty good trombone player, and of course I went to college. A lot of people don't know I went to college. My first 2 weeks I was a music major, but then I
2 weeks.
Yeah, and the reason I tell you the reason I got out. People will laugh at this. I was playing on the golf team also, and we had a guy, Dr. Stanley, who was the head of our marching band. I hated marching band. When I was in high school, I hated marching band. I hate marches, and I hated a marching band then.
Why? What's the?
I don't know what it is. Of course, my father was a band director before he was a principal, and he loved marches. And he said, "Come on in here and listen to this march." I said, "No." That's like hearing fingernails on a chalkboard to me.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
John Philip Sousa.
J.P. Sousa. I did not like him. No.
Yes.
I'm one of the few people in America that did not like him that much. And
wow.
And he wasn't quite up to who's the guy I really, really hate that sings Easter Bonnet and all that stuff. Holly Jolly Christmas. Burl Ives. Yeah, not quite up to Burl Ives level, but close. But no, I quit. Being a music major because I wanted to play on the golf team, and the guy said, you have to be a marching band all the time. Well, think about that. I mean, two polar ends. And I said, I don't want to be a marching band. He said, well, you have to be a music major. I said, well, then I'm not a music major. So I went down and transferred over to history and never looked back.
Never.
No, never looked back. Although
Until today.
I kept on playing my trombone in groups over my 4 years in college. So I had a chance to still play,
Okay.
which I enjoyed, but I did not have to go through the burden of being a music major during that time, much to my father's chagrin, by the way. He was not happy about that for a while. Took a little while for him to get over that.
So how did he get over that?
It just wore down later on.
It did?
Yes, it just wore down later on. He just kind of put it away. He would not forget it, but he never brought it up.
Indignant resignation.
Yeah, my mother was a music person also, and she taught music, but she was much more forgiving. And I think she worked at him for a while. I mean, I had to pay her a lot of money to do it, but she did work on it for a while, so maybe that helped wear him down.
You know what? Do you know that it's 25 degrees
Yes, I do.
cooler
Yes.
right now than it was at this time yesterday morning?
I know that because I wore the same kind of outfit out this morning that I wore yesterday morning, and it was not enough.
Yes.
Not enough.
As a matter of fact, I was going to wear shorts, and then I checked the temp, and I immediately put pants on.
Yeah, I had on a light pullover top, and I wish I would have pulled
Which
my
I guess you were happy about.
winter joke out. Yeah, well, I don't really care that much one way or the other. Anyway, our question for the day, our Gary Sutton show on WOYK question of the day. Do you believe that President Trump is right or wrong in his fiscal policy of trying to correct quote-unquote rip-offs by other countries on the United States over the years through tariffs? He's talking about tomorrow being called Liberation Day, and we'll get into some of that this morning. You can also check out our Voice, Just a Voice on Main Street podcast on YouTube. My latest one I put up was with Mark Hendrickson, and I hope you'll check that out. It's I think they're pretty good. You can also check out our daily podcast by going to WOYK on YouTube, and you can see our show again if you missed something you really liked, or just something you didn't really get the first time, or something you didn't get a chance to hear the first time. Our call-in number today is 717-846-9870, and our text number, which we would love to have you use all the time, is 833-478-4729. Don't forget, tomorrow I'm going to have lunch at Yanni's at 12 o'clock. I already have a number of people who are going to come out and see me. I'd love to have you join that crowd. Yanni's is located at 310 Town Center Drive at West Manchester Town Center. And just a great place for gyros, but a great place for conversation. Hope you'll stop out there and see me tomorrow. Also, if you can't listen to us on 98.9 FM or 1350 WOYK AM, you can go to 989WOYK.com and hear us anywhere in the world that you would like. Today is April Fool's Day. So if you're a fool, we're about to celebrate your month. Maybe I missed that. Maybe I got the wrong idea on that. 11 days to Passover, 14 days to Tax Day. I wish that would pass over. And 19 days to Easter is what's up today. So there you have all of the necessary things. James Sanders will join us this morning at 7:05 on something called Vibicession. We've heard of recession. Well, how about a Vibicession?
Vivisession?
Vivisession, is that what it's called? Is that the correct pronunciation?
Well, I think I don't know if that's what you're talking about. Where
I've heard VIB pronounced as a vibe. So why would we say now?
Vivisection.
Okay.
I think it's a medical term where you cut.
No, I think this is something else. We'll find out.
Vivisession.
Jamie Norpel, head of Logos Works and head of the York County Safety Collab, will join us at 7:35 this morning, talk about what they're doing safety-wise. Steve Wilson, Pioneer Institute Senior Fellow, talks about his research and recommendations on education and how charter schools can improve it. We'll get that take this morning at 8:05. And then at 8:35, Eugene DePasquale, former Auditor General, wades into the political world and gives his thoughts on that as he and I try to analyze that and break it down a little bit. I have a lot of fun doing that with Eugene when he joins us every Tuesday morning here on the Gary Sutton Show.
You left out, it's International Fun at Work Day, so...
That's, for me, it's just Tuesday.
I'm going to have fun at work today.
Yeah, well, you've sounded like you've already had a lot this morning. I kind of, I'm one of those, Mark is like... I don't mean this in a negative way at all. It's like white noise to me in the morning when I hear him, because he talks to himself.
Yes.
I do not. And neither one is right or wrong. I am not saying that with any value put to it. He talks to himself quite a bit.
Oh,
and
it's incessant.
Yeah. And, it's okay. I mean, we all have ways of doing things, and that is an effective way for him.
And that's fun at work.
Yes, it is. By the way, Donald Trump has been referring to... I'm sorry, go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say with the food. the food
Day.
holiday.
Yeah, we don't want to miss that.
There is one. It's one thing today.
Go ahead.
It's National Sourdough Bread Day.
Ooh, I like that.
Do you?
My father used to make sourdough bread and take it around to people's houses. That was his.
Wow.
You know how people send cards to people? My dad would take sourdough bread to people's
No
houses.
kidding.
He did.
So that sounds like a commitment.
I have a picture at home in the corner of our back room where we spend most of our time. And so it's one of my favorite pictures, my dad holding a loaf of sourdough bread. And he would wrap them up himself. He would take them around to people and just stop in and say, hey, just was thinking about you. Here's a loaf of sourdough bread.
How many would he make?
A bunch. He had a culture. Well, when he first made the culture, when you make that culture of sourdough bread, he forgot to do a couple things well. My mother came into the kitchen one morning. It was growing out of the cupboard down the side of the wall.
Oh, my.
And all that. Yeah, you know how that can happen.
Yes.
And
like the blob.
He did learn how to get that under control so it didn't take over our entire home. He started doing that, and he would make loaf after loaf after loaf. And I'll tell you what, they were so good. And I just thought it was a neat thing. No one else that I know ever took sourdough bread. I'm sure people take pies around, and my mother used to send cards to people. And
yeah, I know people who do jellies and jams.
Yeah, my wife does that. That's what Debbie does. But I think it's just a nice, gracious thing to do.
Where did he get his starter from? Did he borrow it, or did he create it out of thin air?
No, I'm not sure where he got it from. Okay. I would be less than honest if I said I knew, because I really didn't. But he was. He really liked doing that. It's one of the things he loved to do, and he get it around to a lot of people. I've been interested in this Liberation Day thing. I've been hearing President Trump referring to April 2nd as Liberation Day, and he's expected to enact reciprocal tariffs on major trading partners tomorrow, particularly those that contribute the most to the $1.2 trillion U.S. trade deficit. And he keeps on saying the word ripped off. He said, and I don't know if that really helps us. I don't know if that helps us. I mean, you could say, hey, we were at a disadvantage or whatever, but the idea of ripped off, maybe that makes more sense to people. I don't know. I prefer another way of saying it. But over the decades, he said they ripped us off like no country has ever been ripped off in history, and we're going to be much nicer than they were to us, but it's substantial money for the country, quote unquote. He told the reporters Sunday night, according to ABC News. And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said on Fox News earlier this month that Wednesday's announcements will focus on reciprocal tariffs imposed on countries he called the Dirty 15. That'll make you some new friends. White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett told the network in a subsequent interview that the focus of the tariffs would be on 10 to 15 countries. And Trump told reporters on Air Force One on Sunday that the tariffs would start on essentially all the countries that we're talking about. There'll be a 25% tariff on imported steel and aluminum, a 25% tariff on goods from Mexico and Canada, and a 25% tariff on all imported automobile and automobile parts. By the way, there's a rush right now to buy domestic automobiles so they can get in before the tariffs get enacted. He also threatened several other countries, including traditional allies in the European Union, with other steep tariffs, even on European wine. And so I guess what he's talking about here with this independence kind of thing is going to be an independence from being at a disadvantage in terms of a trade deficit here. Is that a good thing? That's what we asked the question this morning at Facebook.com. Do you like this particular route that he's taking to try to kind of even things up here, even though there's going to be some significant discomfort during that time? I want to get your take on that this morning. So go in there, or you can also text me at 833-478-4729. We'll take a break. We'll come right back with more here on the Gary Sutton Show. It's the Main Street of America and York County, all here on WOYK. guy can play. That is not me, by the way.
On National Trombone Player Day.
That's not bolero, is it?
It is.
Yeah. I've never heard a trombone player play bolero, but the guy plays it very well. Yeah, I love playing my trombone. I did. It got me a lot of places when I was in high school.
So talk about, like, what is this guy doing? I mean, there are no buttons.
Well, the slide. You have to know positions on the slide.
So
that's what it is.
Very exact?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, very much so.
Can you be off by like a...
No. You just kind of know. Like even today, when I pick up my trombone, I can go to the exact places I'm supposed to go because I just know where they're supposed to be. I played in college. I played in a band called the Esquires in college. We had about a 20-piece band. And we played a lot of Chicago stuff and Blood, Sweat, and Tears at that time. That was back in the late 60s, early 70s. And in fact, our band got invited to play in Canada. We were the only band from the United States at this particular thing. We played at the Queen Elizabeth Hotel in Montreal, and we played at the Forum where the Canadians played hockey.
Yes.
Played there. But at the neat thing at the Queen Elizabeth Hotel, which was really cool, we played this one piece. We wore like black tuxes, and I had on rose-colored sunglasses, if you can imagine that. That was really cool back then. But we had a fun band, a fun bunch of guys, and we're pretty good. We're pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the trombone. I guess it was Glenn Miller.
Glenn Miller played trombone, yes.
And that's the only real person I know.
There's not a lot of great trombone players.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's just I think we've been relegated to playing like the
Jimmy
accompaniment. Yeah, Jimmy Pankow. Of course, Chicago made the trombone kind of cool.
He did,
and other groups
because he kind of wields it like like not a weapon, but like a lightsaber.
I could see you're really intrigued by the trombone this morning.
Well, it's. We talk about these days.
Sure.
Let's use it as and we have someone here who actually plays the trombone.
I should bring it in and try.
Should.
My problem is I haven't played it in a while, and I need to practice a little bit before I do it. Anyway,
how about next year?
Yeah. 4 things to look forward to in April. How's that?
Okay.
Beyond the trombone.
Yes.
It's always a good month for sports, obviously. March Madness continues with the Final Four this weekend. Then the Women's National Championship game is on Sunday. Connecticut is going to crush who's ever in that, by the way. They made it in last night. They had their set their Final Four last night. And I think I saw where Connecticut is in there. There was a Texas or TCU is in as well, and a couple other teams. I don't follow the women's. I have to confess, it's not as big a deal to me. Not that it's not important, but it just...
All you have to do is follow Connecticut.
Yeah, well, that's basically it. But last night, let's see, you had Texas beating TCU 58-47. Connecticut won 78-64 over USC last night to get in. So there you go. I mean, that's one of the big things. What else do we have going on here? Let me see.
Well, you said things in April.
Things in April.
Okay.
The MLB season is now in full swing. The Masters starts April 10th, which is 10th. One of my favorite times of the year. The NBA and the NHL playoffs both start the 19th. And will last for 4 or 5 months. And then? And the NFL draft, April 24th. I knew I was going to say that's a holy day for Mark.
Yes.
April 24th.
Green Bay.
In theaters, the Mickey Mouse thriller Screamboat opens tomorrow. Really? Steamboat Willie was the first ever Mickey Mouse movie. And someone said, Screamboat, do we need that? A Minecraft movie opens on Friday, which I've watched the trailer to it. Jack Black's in it.
Well, you see, you have to know what Minecraft is.
I know you do. And I'm not a game
Even my
player.
granddaughter plays that.
I don't play it.
It's a building game.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's a very eclectic kind of thing. And the fact that they built a movie around it, it does not surprise me.
I think it's insulting. Actually, all these movies that are made on games, insulting.
And to that point, we found out about a new TV show. And it's called The Studio. And it's on Apple TV. Watched a part of the first episode last night. It was a little too much for Deb, but I did find it very funny. And it stars, at least in the first episode that I could recognize, Seth Rogen is an executive in a movie company. And his boss gets fired, And then immediately him and his friends are all wondering who is going to be named the new studio executive. And of course, each one thinks they're the best choice.
Right.
Well, Seth gets chosen by Bryan Cranston, who plays this lead chairman of the board, and he offers him the job.
Yeah.
The job, though, to your point about, movies about idiotic things, Bryan Cranston says, well, we've been working on this for a long time. So this is your number one project now that you are the new head of this studio, something that this guy's worked for his entire life. This is his primary focus. To do a movie, he says, I've just secured rights to Kool-Aid. And we're like, what? Kool-Aid, the pitcher where he goes, oh yeah, and busts through the wall. That's going to be their movie. And you watch these people try to fall over themselves with ideas on how to create a superhero movie.
I'm with Deb so far, by the way.
What about his daughter? His daughter, the daughter
I'm with
pitcher.
Deb, you're a wise lady. This sounds like the most boring thing that I could ever possibly hear.
Trying to create
good grief. Trying to create interest out of that that would be magnificent. But
anyway, but to your point,
Michael B. Jordan's in Sinners, by the way, on April 18th. The Accountant 2 with Ben Affleck opens April 25th.
Accountant 2?
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't see Accountant 1, so
it was all right.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, on TV, The Handmaid's Tale returns for its final season next Tuesday. 6 new episodes of Black Mirror hit Netflix next Tuesday, and I've not seen that, so I'm going to have to check that out. The Last of Us, I know you've watched that a little bit, or return for the 13th.
The 13th.
The 13th,
I got to wait till then.
The Star Wars spin-off Andor is back the 22nd. Do we need another one? And the last season of You hits Netflix with all 10 episodes landing, landing April 24th.
And we have the finale of White Lotus next week.
There
so
you
we
go.
got to figure out what's going to happen.
Something else to make you a little tingly. Woo. And then finally, the holidays. Today is April Fool's Day. Don't be a fool. Passover starts the 12th. Good Friday is the 18th. Easter is the 20th. Buy extra candy. It's on 4/20 this year. And other holidays include National Burrito Day this Thursday, National Twinkie Day this Sunday, National Beard Day on the 7th. Here we go again. Getting another cheap holiday there.
Yes.
Then Gin and Tonic Day on the 9th. You only get one day off in between National Beer Day and Gin and Tonic Day.
Beef eaters, please.
Thank you. National Pet Day on the 11th. Patriots Day on the 21st, which is every day for Mark. Woo-hoo. Earth Day on the 22nd. And if trees are your thing, April 25th is National Arbor Day. When we come back, we'll tell you about some of the things that are going on around you. Plus, 13 fun, harmless April Fool's pranks to pull on someone that won't make them sad. We'll tell you about all that here on The Gary Sutton Show on the Main Street of America in York County. It's right here on WOYK. That's a recording of Mark's stomach. Anyway, welcome back. Jethro Tull?
What's that?
Is that Jethro Tull?
It is. Bungle in the Jungle.
Tell you what, that guy, I liked his music a lot. I really did.
He had such a unique voice.
Yeah.
And he could play, what is it, the flute?
The flute, yeah.
Yeah, and he was excellent at that as well.
And made that a really jazzy kind of thing, the flute. But, hey, I saw an interesting story this morning before I get to this April Fool's thing. Apparently, body cam footage exists of the police finding the bodies of Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy, back in February. Remember that? And pictures were also taken. And there are people who want all that material released. I am not one of them, by the way. Yoshi Feaster is not one of them either. And she may have a legitimate claim because she was Gene Hackman's mother-in-law. You say, wait a second, Gene Hackman's 95 years old. But he had a mother-in-law. Now, you have to remember, his wife was only 65.
Right.
Yoshi is her mother. She's 91. And she'd like to keep pictures and video of the bodies under wraps so she can grieve in peace. Couldn't agree with her more. In legal documents, she said she has, quote, a constitutional right to avoid seeing images of my daughter's home, her dead body, her husband's dead body, and their dog's corpse. A New Mexico judge ruled yesterday that photos and video from the scene can be released, but any images of Gene and Betsy cannot. They have to be either blurred or edited out. This is in People magazine, by the way. You know, does anybody really need to see that stuff? I mean, I gotta ask. To me, there's a situation where you say, well, it's news. I don't know if that's news. You tell the news about it, but do you really have to see the pictures of it? I don't know, Mark. You're in the news business.
I'm just going to say that, you know, most people would agree with you.
Yeah.
But that's not what it's about.
Yeah.
You know, we don't say, well, a show of hands. Who wants to see this? Well, only 3 people, so we don't do it. You know, there's going to be a way. If there's somebody who's looking for attention, they will use just about any means to get it. And that, you know, not just news. I mean, that's
what's the National Enquirer kind of mentality, the tabloidish kind of thing. And I just find that to be about as distasteful. But
you know what? You know, on Facebook with all the social media and stuff,
I know.
I mean, it's even more in their mind critical to have, you know, salacious kind of things.
Crawl into the Coliseum and watch the Christians and the Lions fight it out a little bit. It's that it just really is sick.
As old as that.
Sick. That's how bad it is. So, yeah. Anyway, I was reading today about people are talking about fun April Fool's Day pranks. I am not one that aren't upsetting. Although I will tell you, I pulled one of the great ones of all time. I did do one time. It was really bad.
Oh, this was the teacher.
Yeah, should I tell it again? I've told it before. It's boring.
Well, it was a while ago. It is April Fool's Day.
It is April Fool's Day. Well, April Fool's Day, the one year when I was teaching, we had a friend named Denny Williams. And if Denny's listening, Denny, I'm sorry, even now.
Denny, he really is.
He hasn't talked to me for years, mainly because I haven't seen him. But anyway, Denny was about as true blue and as nice a person and as good a guy as you could ever meet in your entire life. He was a fellow teacher, but he was younger, a little bit gullible. He actually believed that people were nice all the time. He found out on April 1st that was not the case. Anyway, so April 1st that year happened to be opening day for the Orioles. And Denny was a huge Orioles fan. And so he got sick. Now, this guy wouldn't have taken a day off illegally from school, Mark, if you'd have forced him.
Right.
But he got sick, and really, really sick, and he missed that day. We were kidding with him about, you know, Jesus, it's a shame you can't get to the Orioles game. And he said, yeah, we have school, I can't do that. And then he got sick, so he couldn't be in school that day. So we come up with this thing about, we were watching the game on TV in the faculty room, and we saw him in the picture. So we come up with this story that we saw him in the picture there. Hey, it was great he could get down to the game and really enjoy it because he's a big Orioles fan, but hope he doesn't get in trouble. So then we go to the principal. We have the principal write him a memo about please see me when you get back in today. And, of course, before he had a certain time in there. See me at 12 o'clock today. All of us are walking around giving him all these little things like, hey, Denny, we heard you at the game yesterday. Mr. Miller's really upset. And, and we'd all bump him at different times. And, he said, I got this memo. Is that what I said? I don't know. We don't know anything about the memo, but, geez, you're not supposed to take days off like that. And I hope he didn't see it. None of us would have told him, of course. And so we built it. So this guy's like all morning is worried to death that he's going to get fired, and he goes in and Mr. Miller says, hey, we saw your picture yesterday. He said, that wasn't me. I wasn't at the game. I was sick. He said, well, no. We saw you. You're having a great time and at the game. And he had this guy halfway believing he was there by the time he got done. Well, when he found out that it was an April Fool's prank, he was furious. We didn't talk for years. He took it pretty well after about a week or so and 2 weeks of counseling. He was pretty good. So,
well, speaking of sports and April Fools, maybe one of the greatest sports April Fool's jokes happened on April 1st, 1985. It was the issue of Sports Illustrated, and George Plimpton, a famous sports writer.
Yes, he was.
He
Paper
wrote,
Lion.
Yeah, I love that book. The Curious Case of Sid Finch.
Oh.
Yes. It doesn't mean much to
Sid Finch a pitcher?
Yes.
A left-handed pitcher for Pittsburgh, I think.
It was a profile of an incredible rookie baseball pitcher for the New York Mets. And sports fans took his April Fool's joke seriously, even though other journalists, one of the things they said that Plimpton wrote that this novice could throw a fastball. You know how fast it was?
How fast?
168 miles an hour. And they said, and Plimpton said it was due to his Buddhist training. He was able to.
I like this.
Yes, he was able to come up with this special delivery, and the Mets have him. So Mets fans were all excited. And even though I think that there were a couple of telltale clues. Right. Of course, 168, that's a clue right there. It's not obviously real, but that was another one where, just trying to, people, you want to believe, right?
You do. Yes. And it's just fun. Well, here are some that people did that, for example, people online are talking about the fun April Fool's Day pranks to pull on your significant other, but don't involve making them sad. Here are the highlights. Quote, I once charged my wife's birthday on. No, I'll do that again. I once changed my wife's birthday on Facebook to be April 1st. She spent all day confused as to why she was getting happy birthday messages. So, that was something.
That's an innocent one.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Quote, I once painted my husband's soap bar with clear nail polish, let it dry, and put it back in the shower. It would not lather no matter how hard he tried. That's very good. Okay.
Honey, what's up with this?
Yeah. Quote, I had our 5-year-old son pretend he found a big bug in the house. We put a raisin in a napkin, and he excitedly ran up to my wife and said, look at the bug I found, Mommy. And before she could see it, he ate it in front of her. Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. I switched up the order of my brother's drawers once. He was not amused. Yeah. Yeah. My son once filled my purse with bras that I had to remove at the register to reach my wallet. Not bad. Not bad. I once hid 144 Easter eggs around our home. It's been 2 or 3 years, and there's still a few unaccounted for.
Oh, no.
Ugh. Number 7, simply set your significant other's alarm to a different sound.
Oh,
yeah.
There you go.
That's a good one. Buy a toilet brush identical to the one you already have. Mm-hmm. Put it in the dishwasher. When she notices and maybe freaks out a little, remind her that you've been washing it like that for years without her complaining. Very good.
That's great.
We told a coworker there was vandalism in the parking lot and it looked like his tires were slashed. When he got out to his car, we had tape photos of Slash to his tires.
Oh, Slash.
Yeah, Slash, the guitar player, yeah. My husband changed my autocorrect to make you swap to y'all. Okay, yeah, it's a little bit. I once switched the apple in my dad's lunch with a fake one. Okay.
There you go.
I unscrewed the shower head as a teenager and put beef bouillon cubes inside and laughed when my sister took a shower in beef broth. Yeah, okay. And finally, if your significant other works from home, get an image of their usual background for video calls and give it to all their coworkers. It's all right, I guess. So But here's
another way.
Yeah, here's another thing. How about the top 5 quick, easy, and harmless pranks for April Fool's Day?
Okay.
Cover your face in red dots, then get into a crowded elevator and say, "This will teach me for not getting the measles vaccine."
Oh,
yeah,
no.
Probably no. Tell your dog that he was adopted. Just have a little fun with him. Yeah. Let's see. Make your kid bacon for breakfast, and after they finish, tell them it was Peppa Pig. I don't know. Hide Grandma's heart pills and then tell her Wheel of Fortune was canceled. No. Tell the woman next to you on the bus that the voice in your head tells you to kill in the name of Satan. Not a good idea.
No.
Not good. No. Let's see. Put a sign on your unsuspecting neighbor's car that says, "People honk at me," or "Kanye's right." Yeah. And then finally, sprinkle some bones and fur on your front yard that announce, "Honey, Haitians ate your cat." No, I did. No. These are not good. They're not good. Those other ones were harmless. These are not good. So there you go. Anyway. Yeah.
I mean, other than that, have you ever done another? The one that you mentioned, had you ever done another?
I'm trying to think. There was another one that we did one time, but I can't think of what it was right off the top of my head.
Was it before that or after that?
It was before that, I think.
Okay, because then when you did the one with Mr. Williams, that ended it.
That was pretty much the end of my April.
Yes.
It was so good. I thought, I can't beat this. And I spent a lot of time getting that together. So it was, it took a lot of planning. And I'm not up for that anymore.
Yeah, I get you.
Plus, I grew into a man. I put away the childish things. And,
yes.
All that. I'm just
cool.
Just musing here a little bit.
Well, coming up before the top of the hour,
yes.
You and I both agree that in news writing, sometimes you want a good lead in.
Yes.
And
a hook.
Yes, right. So you automatically, it makes you think or maybe laugh, but mostly to, information wise, it makes you want to know more. And we played a story we both heard it this morning, and it's maybe one of the best lead-ins I have ever heard. And it's funny on top of it. So we'll get to that. And yesterday, was it a question of a day?
No, I didn't have a question of the day yesterday.
Where you were asking about what's annoying on planes?
Yeah. Something the most annoying thing on planes, like when the pilot says we're going down. That could be have a little sense of annoyance there.
Well, but one of the things out of all the things that you mentioned, you didn't mention animals.
No.
On a plane, and that happens to be the subject of a pause report from Fox News.
All of that ahead this morning. Amidst all the other news we're going to get to with our guest today, all here on the Gary Sutton Show. It's the Main Street of America and York County, right here on WOYK. Gary Sutton, Mark McKenzie, back with more right after this. Welcome back.
But that's not something you would play on National Trombone Players Day, is it?
It's okay. I don't mind that.
Washington Post March.
Yeah, Washington Post March. That's one that everybody has to like. I mean, it's okay. So
you can hear the trombone.
Yeah, National Trombone Day.
Trombone Player Day.
Trombone Player Day.
So it's more about you than me.
Yeah, and isn't that the truth all the time? I mean, that's welcome back. It's the Gary Sutton Show here in WOYK. We're kidding. Main Street of America and York County. By the way, Phillies beat Colorado yesterday, 6-1. They're now 3-1 in the early part of the year here. Let's see. Schwarber, Kepler, and Castellanos all hit home runs yesterday in the 7th and 8th innings. Where in fact, they scored all their runs in the 7th and 8th innings. The 7th inning and the 8th inning. Sosa also doubled the center. Turner scored and Stott scored, but. Schwarber continues to homer. Kepler, Castellanos.
That's his third, I think, in the last 5 games.
Oh, yeah. He opened up the opening game. And then the Orioles came out yesterday. If you're an Orioles fan at all, they won 8-5. The Provish kid looked pretty good coming out of the gate. And they had the return of Mountain Time with Bautista coming in and throwing the last inning. Looked a little rough. First of all, he comes in. He was only throwing it at 97 miles an hour.
Oh, my.
He was only throwing it at 97 miles an hour after Tommy John surgery. It was the first time in 600 days. I guess he actually pitched a day in Toronto the other day, but first time in 600 days he had pitched. But he came in out of center field. He opened up the gate, and it was like Wild Thing in Major League, But he came in, and it was a little shaky. But he eventually got the side out there, and they won 8-5. Did not have a home run in that game, which I was glad to see. The Orioles need to get away from just hitting homers all the time and start to connect up with a few manufacturing of runs.
Live by the homer, die by the homer?
Something like that.
Well, it's funny you should mention, let's talk a little bit about what's happening in sports and baseball in particular. All the talk has been about the Yankee bats that have that special tapered end, and it powered the Yankees over their early games of this new season. And here's a little bit more about those bats.
The New York Yankees made history on their opening weekend, tying a major league record with 15 home runs in their first 3 games of the season. But it was the bats that some of them used that have sparked attention and some controversy across the league. The new so-called torpedo bats feature a significant change from a traditional bat. The barrel rests closer to the hitter's hands, so they make contact with the sweet spot. MLB has confirmed that the bats are legal, and the Yankees aren't the only ones using it. Several players from other teams say they have also given the torpedo bats a try, with some for it and others against it. But the Yankees are seemingly the only ones so far to take the new bat and knock it out of the park. Tony Genualdo, Fox News.
The other day, Nestor Cortez, who the Yankees traded away this last year, was a pitcher. He's the guy they face on Saturday, right? The first 3 pitches, the Yankees knock out of the park.
Wow.
The first 3 pitches. It wasn't like, the first 3 batters. It was the first 3 pitches of the game.
You'd think they had like inside information or...
Well, they knew the guy. I mean, the guy had pitched for them, but still, I mean... How do you feel if you get the first 3 pitches? I don't think you got a chance to throw the 4th one. I'm not sure. But the first 3 pitches, they had 9 home runs in that game.
Wow, that's crazy.
And of course, Aaron Judge is still knocking them out by crazy. Right. Hey, by the way, we're keeping our eye today on a couple special elections. Florida, there are 2 special elections. And the reason we're watching them is because of President Trump's policies. And the Democrats have put a lot of money into these 2 elections in Florida, even though they both are generally held by red candidates, by Republican candidates. But we're going to see. We're watching that. And also in Wisconsin, there is a Supreme Court election that is of great interest as well. And so we'll see so many times these special elections.
Musk has handed out, I think,
he's put
4 $1 million checks.
Yep, he's putting some serious money into that. And of course, that was one that they were thinking about taking up, and no one took it up So apparently, you can do that. I'm not sure it looks that good, but in fact, I know it doesn't look that good. But But anyway, so these 2 special elections that they're having in Florida, they're expected to still be won by Republicans. But we had that thing in Lancaster last week, and a lot of Republicans are getting a little antsy right now about some of the president's policies because prices are still up a bit. And, he's saying there's going to be some short-term pain to go with long-term gain and all that. They're going to fill the seats that have been left vacant by Mike Waltz, who left Congress to be the national security advisor under Trump, and Matt Gaetz, who resigned after Trump nominated him to be attorney general amid allegations of sexual misconduct. He ended up withdrawing his nomination. So both them, their seats are open. And Republican challenger and Florida chief financial officer Jimmy Patronis is running against Democrat Gay Vallemont. I think it's Vallemont is the way you say it here in our country, to fill the first congressional district seat vacated by Gaetz. And Republican Florida State Senator Randy Fine is going head-to-head with public school teacher Josh Weil, a Democrat, for Waltz's seat in the 6th congressional district. So if you're watching the news today, watch for the 1st and the 6th congressional districts there. That's what's happening in that particular election. And then also the Wisconsin Supreme Court polls. That is an interesting one. In anticipation of Tuesday's outcome of polls, show voters in the Midwestern bellwether are split almost evenly between the Democratic pick, who is Susan Crawford, and Trump-backed candidate Brad Schimmel. A recent poll by SoCal Strategies put Crawford a few points ahead, 50% to 42%. That's more than a few points ahead. That's big if that poll means anything. In their findings, their nonpartisan group said part of this boost comes from the Democratic base being significantly more likely than Republican-aligned voters to turn out to the polls in an odd-year, non-November election. And normally, Mark,
that's what happened in Lancaster.
Supreme Court elections are not that big a deal.
Right.
And most traditional voters don't turn out for them. You know, if you have like a retention election after 10 years, you won't see a lot of people turning out. But in this one, apparently a lot of Democrats are motivated to vote right now. And so keep your eye on that election as well. Again, will that be a bellwether of what's going on in the country? Well, maybe a bellwether in the moment of what's happening in the country. So there you have it.
So business news can be pretty dry.
Oh, yeah.
All right. But this guy had a creative lead-in to this story about a company, famous one, going bankrupt.
Hooters has gone bust. The restaurant chain, known for its buffalo wings and skimpy orange and white uniforms worn by its female servers, has filed for bankruptcy. Hooters started in the early 1980s in Florida and expanded to several locations internationally, but changing tastes over the years has resulted in the restaurant's struggles. Hooters put out a statement saying the bankruptcy filing will make way for a buyout, and they hope to remain open while restructuring. Tom Graham, Fox News.
Greatest thing about that story is the headline. You're exactly right.
Anyway.
Yeah. So when we come back, James Sanders is going to join us. He's our business blogger. He always comes up with something interesting. And today it's about a Vibra-session. I want to find out what a Vibra-session is because I've never heard of that before. I've heard of recession. I've heard of procession. But Vibra-session? I don't know. Also, Jamie Norpel joins us at 7:35 this morning to talk about the association between the clergy and the police here in York County and just how special that is, all here on WOYK. It is 7 o'clock.
York's only local show is back on its new home on York's only local station.
Guess who's back? Back again.
This is the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK.
I'm back.
Now, broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown York studios inside Wellspan Park, here's Gary Sutton.
And this is the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK, the Main Street of America and York County, brought to you by Barley Snyder Law Firm. Barley Snyder is a strategically focused law firm representing businesses, organizations, and individuals in all major areas of civil law. Very proud to have them as a presenting sponsor here today on the Main Street of America. It's Tuesday, April the 1st, 2025.
April Fool's Day.
Yes, it is. So if you're a fool and it's April, you finally made your month. There you go. No,
well,
that's not the way I'm supposed to look at it, is it? No.
Well, I don't know if this is true or not, but it says here, just breaking news from Fox News Radio, that President Trump has signed an executive order. Again, that's not really breaking news, is it?
No.
But this one, unusual.
Kind of like breathing.
Yes, this one unusual. He's banning ketchup on hot dogs. So
Stop it. Just stop. That is so far beneath us to use that kind of silliness. Goodness gracious. Anyway, our question of the day today at Facebook, good grief, Gary Sutton Show on Facebook is, do you believe that President Trump is right or wrong in his fiscal policy of trying to correct quote-unquote rip-offs by other countries in the United States over the years through tariffs? Do you believe that's right? You can also, by the way, check us out at our YouTube at the end of the day. You can go in there and find our show at WOYK. But also, I've got a separate thing on YouTube now. I've got my one this week is up with Mark Hendrickson, former NBAer and also Major League Baseball player, just a voice on Main Street. And Mark and I had a chance to sit down for about 40 minutes, and I hope that you'll check that out, not only on YouTube, if you want to hear it audibly on some of the other places you go to find your podcast. You can hear it audibly on places like Spotify and all those kind of places. So check those out.
I have to say that that was not an original idea for me. James Sanders made this suggestion.
Sounds like a cheap James Sanders kind of thing. It does.
And it was very good. I enjoyed that.
And with that, we bring in the aforesaid Mr. Sanders, who is our business blogger here on a Tuesday morning, at least for the moment. He is. Good morning, James. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to a nice mustard slathered hot dog with some onions on it.
Are you a baseball fan, James? Do you get into baseball season?
Absolutely. My Fighting Phils are off to a roaring start this year.
Yeah, 6-1 last night. Still some more home runs from the usual people like Schwarber and who are Castellanos and those guys. But anyway, so you wanted to talk today about something, Vibasession. I have never heard of Vibasession. Am I saying that correctly?
Vibe session, yeah. I mean, I always like these terms that I see the press come up with, or economists, quiet quitting, quiet layoffs, whatever. Yeah. Vibe session. I mean, they're just repackages of prior concepts. But essentially, what this is all about is there's been a disconnect between what economic data is showing you, higher prices, higher rates, slowdown in manufacturing activity, and actually what the consumer sentiment is that's out there. So they measure that by, the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey.
Right.
And for years, you've seen, a resilient consumer in the U.S., which makes up about 3/4 of the U.S. economy.
Right.
Continuing to spend, going on vacations. There's really no slowdown in what they're doing. But the data is all telling you we should be in a recession by now. So what happened recently is you're starting to see the consumer sentiment coming down. And, is that a result of worry over tariffs? Is that a concern over worry over what the fiscal policy is of the U.S. government, what we're doing in the trade? Who knows? I have no clue what's going on, but it's finally looks like it's starting to catch up. And are we in a recession? Aren't we in a recession? Who knows? But usually we find out we're in a recession by the time we're halfway through it, because all that data is backward looking. So the whole point of this is there is a slowdown. It is coming. You can see it. You're hearing it from companies. You're hearing it on quarterly earnings calls. And the question is, what do businesses do about it? And from my point of view, those are the best opportunities to take advantage when you're in a strong position. Take advantage of your position in the marketplace. In other words, most businesses want to look to cut the easy costs and do things to weather the storm. And in my mind, you're still going to do a little bit of activity, but you want to position yourself for when things begin to recover. You want to put yourself in the best position to ride that wave as fast as possible and get to the top. And a lot of businesses make the mistake of sitting there and kind of wallowing in their own muck. So anyway, that's what's going on.
The president is talking about tomorrow is going to be kind of like an Independence Day kind of thing, and he's trumping up, if you'll excuse the term, his tariffs that are going to come. We don't know exactly what will come out that tomorrow because tomorrow's Wednesday and today's Tuesday, and we never quite know from day to day what's going to happen. So what is he talking about with this idea of Independence Day? And a lot of people are saying now, well, there's going to be short-term gain or short-term pain for long-term gain. Do you see that? I mean, is his terms he uses, for example, are ripping people off, and we've been ripped off, and all these horrible things. Is he doing us any favors by talking that way in terms of, kind of changing the way we're looking at doing business with other countries right now? What's your take on that?
Yeah, no, I've been pretty consistent on what he's doing, or my thoughts on what he's doing. He's negotiating, and when he negotiates, he's coming out big. He is going to throw something out there like he's doing, and I read a report this morning that it's 20% across the board on all imports. That's a Washington Post story. He's going to throw it out there as far as he can and see where these countries, kind of react and land. And then that's when the negotiating starts, because he knows where their pivot points are, where their leverage points are. He knows where he wants to land, but he's not going to tell you that, and he's going to tell you something so outlandish that you're going to think he's crazy. But by the end of this negotiation, he's going to get pretty close to where he wants to get. And again, I go back to go read Art of the Deal. That's exactly what he talks about, and that was done almost 40 years ago that book came out. This is not too dissimilar to what he's doing right now.
Yeah, but I look at it and I wonder. Most presidents have been a little bit more, shall I say, gracious in the way they've talked. The president is not that way at all. And, I'm just wondering, if that, is that helping us in the long run? Is it hurting us in the long run? That's a big question.
Well, people say that, but go back and look at LBJ and how he handled things and how he talked about people. Go back and look at Teddy Roosevelt. I mean, I'm not a presidential historian, but all my history books tell me that they were just as brash and just as out there in dealing with foreign leaders. So, people don't think Trump's diplomatic, and I don't agree with the way that he presents things, but where he's trying to get this country to go and his motivations to do it, I mean, we got to try something new, because, when he uses terms like ripping off, I wouldn't use that, but, go tell me where that VAT tax sits over in Europe and how much cost is embedded in the product that ultimately lands on U.S. shores. Oh, and by the way, there's a tariff. There's tariffs that are imposed and such. So, it's just, I don't know. I don't agree with his packaging all the time, but the direction that he's pushing things, I think, needed to happen over time.
So you look now at what he's going to do tomorrow, and this idea of evening up the playing ground for the economic activity we're going to have in terms of trade and organic back and forth trade. Is he really doing the right thing here in the long run? A lot of people are saying, well, prices aren't lowering right now. Prices aren't coming down. That's kind of one of the things that, got him elected. And you're seeing some of the polls are going against him on that. And yet he still kind of continues to go forward and forge forward here. I mean, I've got to think, if you can admire him, at least grudgingly, you could say, well, he really believes in this stuff. As you said you do. But by the same token, he's doing it in the face of a lot of people saying, I need this right now. I want things corrected right now. And he's saying that's not the basis by which we're doing this. We're going to establish a new kind of base, and then you'll be better off later on. But we can't get to that without going through some pain. Is that what he's saying at the moment?
Yeah, I completely agree with where he's going. I mean, let's go back and look at what Reagan did in the 80s, early 80s. we went through some serious pain in 80, 81, 82. Like, it was not all, sunshine, roses, and lollipops for the first part of his administration. It took time for his tax cuts to really bake in and help the economy. Is Trump doing the right thing now? Who knows? You tell me, and we could have this conversation 4 or 5 years from now, and maybe he is doing the right thing. I don't know, but it's a change in direction, and he's trying to get the federal government, the expenses in order. He's trying to even the playing field, and he's trying to solidify the tax cuts that are in place. So, in my mind, a lot of those things needed to be addressed.
Yeah, and I see what you're saying. At the end of the day, though, he certainly is, and I've characterized this as he's walking on a high wire with no net beneath him to catch him if he falls. So he's really chosen to walk this distance right now and go the way he's going, and there is no place to fall except the ground, right?
I mean, look, he's got nothing to lose by this. He's got one term. One term to do
well,
this.
Not according to him lately, as he's talking about a third term, which I think is silly. But go ahead.
I got it. He's good at trolling the media as well. I mean, it's
right.
Whatever. I mean, I'm not even thinking about that kind of thing. But
I don't either.
Regardless, it's he's making an effort to make a shift here. So, of course, everybody's going to scurry because it's a change. It's a change that's going on, and nobody likes change.
Right. We'll see what happens out of it, because he's certainly taking the slings and arrows right now of the public. And again, public opinion polls, and they are what they are. They're snapshots in the moment. It'll be interesting also to watch these two special elections in Florida today and the one in Wisconsin on the Supreme Court, because we saw what happened in Lancaster last week, although I understand there were a couple other side stories to that. But still, that was a big upset over in Lancaster, and you have to look at some of these and see what's the mood of the people in the moment right now, and we'll see what happens in Florida today and also Wisconsin. Final thoughts.
Absolutely. Hey, well, I want to wrap up, Gary. I'm out to dinner with my young son last night. We run into another young friend of his, and I just want to tell you, Philip Osterreich says, I really enjoy Gary Sutton's show, and I enjoy listening to you in the morning. So you're not just hitting the audience of our age group, you're hitting the 10 to 12 demographic. So keep it up.
Well, as long as we're in the 10 to 12 demographic, it knows that we're at least on a mental level with them right now. They're probably smarter than we are. But anyway, it's great to hear. Thanks so much, James. Always appreciate a Tuesday morning with you. Vibe session today. We've learned about Vibe session, so I feel better for it, and we'll catch you next week. Okay, my friend.
Sounds good. Have a great week, Gary.
Thanks. James Sanders here on the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK, the main street of America and York County. Back with more right after this. Welcome back to the Gary Sutton Show, the Main Street of America here in York County. On WOYK, Mark McKenzie with you this morning. I am Gary Sutton. You know, what's the biggest waste of your time? Meetings, attempting to reason with unreasonable people, mindless mobile games, social media, a belt made of watches. I don't know. According to a new survey, the average American spends 138 minutes worrying every day. But that sounds like a lot to me. That's a long time. 2 hours and 18 minutes of worrying throughout the day, almost the exact length of the Star Wars movie, The Force Awakens. Yeah, it's there are a lot of motivational quotes about how worrying is a waste of time and energy. You probably heard most of them, but that doesn't stop people from obsessing over stuff, right? In fact, 10% of young adults schedule dedicated, quote-unquote, worry time in their daily routines. Really? Only about 3% of those 45 and older intentionally make time for it. Why do they do that? Maybe they think worrying will be productive or that dedicated times will help reduce it somehow. 62% of Gen Zers and millennials say they're constantly feeling anxious, compared to 38% of older adults. Many people find themselves worrying when they're trying to fall asleep. A ranking of the top things that people worry about includes, and Mark, you'll be interested in this, finances, followed by stuff like family, things you need to do like health, work, politics, and getting enough sleep. Now, that's out of Talker research. But do you worry a lot? I don't worry a lot.
Not about that.
No, I mean I don't know if I worry. If you say
you mean in general,
do I think about stuff? Yeah, I mean I'm thinking about the order of things during the day and keeping things beat on time for appointments and things like that.
I think people worry about, this is more about me.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I worried about certain things.
Right.
And then the older I get, the less I find, the less I worry.
Do you worry out there? Text us at 833-478-4729. What do you worry about? I mean, I don't worry about a lot of things. I mean, if I sat and thought about all the things I could worry about, I probably would be paralyzed. I'd be stymied socially throughout the day. As it is, I'm very movable, very dexterous. Did that sound a little too self-serving? Anyway, I was looking at some news you might have missed. Today is April Fool's Day. So it looks like the Secretary of Defense has added you to a classified group chat. Well, that one might be real. I don't know. That's probably not April Fool's. Maybe this is finally the year that Nutter Butter admits the whole 2 cookies constitute a single serving thing is a joke. I don't know. Or today is April Fool's Day. I had a great prank planned, but I accidentally leaked it to a reporter from The Atlantic. And then today is April Fool's Day. It's a day that leaves Mr. T exhausted from all the fool pitying he has to do. Pity the fool. Pity the fool. Yeah, do you remember when he did that? Now it doesn't sound quite as strong.
No.
A new study says that women have better hearing than men. We all knew that already.
Yeah, really.
I mean, if they didn't, how could they remember that time 3 years ago when you forgot to put the hose away and bring it back up when you tried to get out of going to dinner with your mother? So they remember stuff like that.
They do.
Guys, we are a little bit more selective in our memory. We are.
Allegedly.
By the way, I saw a deadly fungus is spreading in U.S. hospitals.
What?
But that's okay since the cast of Grey's Anatomy was getting too big anyhow. So April is also Stress Awareness Month for you warriors. A good way to reduce stress is to take up gardening. It's therapeutic, plus growing your own marijuana saves you a ton of money in today's society. I wouldn't suggest that, by the way.
Right.
A study claims tap water is safer than bottled water. Now, for more proof, plastic causes irreparable damage. Look at Madonna's face. Right there. You can see what happens there with that. Let's see what else we have. A study says, a lot of studies this morning, organic food doesn't reduce the risk of cancer. The study also found that white people will believe anything. And the study also found out, however, it does increase the risk of you being an annoying hipster. When you do that. So you and your organic food can take a hike. Bill Gates says AI will replace most humans at the workplace. Keyword humans, which means Bill Gates will still have a job. Yeah, he's not really. He's kind of superhuman, And U.S. high schools are bringing back shop class. Shop teachers gave the decision 2 nubs up. 2 nubs up. Yeah, see where you're going with that right there. Yeah. Rachel Maddow turns 52 today. Rachel got ready for her birthday yesterday by going to her hairstylist and asking for the Dolph Lundgren. The style. Yeah, the Dolph Lundgren. Yeah. There's finally peace in the Middle East. Russia has withdrawn from Ukraine, and the economy is booming. Just like the April Fool's prank I just played on you. Yeah. Thank you very much. What else?
Well, it was on this date 62 years ago. So the year was 1963.
Mm.
I don't know if you can recognize it's not really a memorable.
It sounds like a daytime soap opera kind of music.
It is. It's General Hospital.
Oh, good. I was in the right church.
General Hospital on this date in 1963 started as a half-hour show.
Yeah.
And then it went to 45 minutes, which is weird, in July of 76. And it was a full hour in January of 78.
I was sitting in a restaurant yesterday with a bunch of friends of mine after we got done playing golf. And there was a soap opera up on TV in the sports bar. It was kind of weird.
Wow.
But the show, remember the shows used to go, you'd miss 2 weeks and you actually miss like half a day on the show in in their real life.
Yes.
But anyway, I was watching yesterday. These things have gotten a little bit risque.
Oh, yes.
I think a little almost dirty. And more than you
were shocked.
I wasn't shocked, but I thought, I haven't watched the soap opera, and
if you would like to relive, I happen to notice that I have Amazon Prime.
Yes,
and one of the things on the home screen is a bunch of old TV shows that you can watch, and one of the ones that came up was Dark Shadows. Remember?
Yeah. Dark Shadows. Yeah.
There was it was risque, I guess, for its time.
But it was, at least it had a story to it a little bit. So
April Fool's Day, 1957 was memorable for the BBC because they had announced a news story about a mild winter in Switzerland and spaghetti trees there apparently producing more spaghetti than normal. And then they went to footage of people pulling strands of spaghetti off of tree branches.
Oh, I remember this.
And people immediately started calling, well, hey, how do you get one of those spaghetti trees? So the BBC told them, place a sprig of spaghetti in a tin of tomato sauce, and good luck.
Yeah, there you go. Very nice. Netflix is making a docuseries about the Kansas City Chiefs. To make sure people watch, it'll be called Taylor Swift and Friends. That's the name for the docuseries. And then I saw this one. This one really was, it kind of caught my eye. O.J. Simpson's Bible sold at auction for $80,000.
Really?
Now, it was expected to go for a lot less because several of the commandments have been kind of scribbled out there. Thou shalt not kill. A little selective on the commandments thing there.
A little. Oh, by the way, speaking of NFL, I don't know that this is a thing for the Hallmark Channel.
Right.
They did a Kansas City Chiefs themed, or at least the team was mentioned in one of their, movies.
Team was mentioned.
Well, you know what I mean?
Alongside of Taylor.
Yeah. Well, it was, anyway, it was a couple of months ago.
Right.
Anyway, they just released word. A Hallmark Channel announced that they are going to do another football-themed movie for the fall, and this one will be featuring the Buffalo Bills.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
I don't know if they're going to get to all of the teams or whether, they're just selecting teams where it's cold enough to snow.
Yeah. Well, still more tingly about that. And the Buffalo Bills, although they've gotten pretty good, haven't they, the Buffalo Bills? So
we'll see about it. This year, the Patriots are going to give them a run for their money.
Do you think?
I do.
Is that the April Fool's joke for today?
No.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if that was. I was going to go.
I'm pretty honest about our teams.
You think you're going to be pretty good this year?
I think they are. I think the defense is going to be formidable.
I was going to ask if Brady was coming back again, but no. It's
the offense. I'm a little unsure of. They signed a
so
former,
are they.
Yes, they signed a former Bill, Stephon Diggs, but he was injured. Spent the last half of the season nursing ACL. So
exactly,
he was a big free agent signing. So I don't know if the offense is going to score more points, but I think the defense is definitely going to be better.
Up next, Jamie Norpel makes her Tuesday morning appearance here on the Gary Sutton Show. She is the head at Logos Works and head of the York County Safety Collab. All here on the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK, the main street of America and York County. Back with more after this. Just start moving. Nice and easy. Don't jump out of bed. Just get out like this. Creep across the floor.
Watch out for your hip.
2 steps forward, a step back. 2 more forward, 1 step back. 2 forward, 1 step back.
Do it. Do it. Do it. Satisfied. Whatever it is. Do it. Do it. Satisfied. Go on and
2 steps forward, 1 step back. 2 steps forward, 1
whatever it is.
Oh, my goodness. Now, tell me that wasn't getting to you.
Bumper music from 1975.
You ought to see us in the studio moving around. I mean, just grooving.
We're doing the conga line.
You got it. Everybody now. People are thinking we've gone around the bend.
Oh.
That's a great song to come back with. BT Express, huh?
Yes.
Ah, I love it. By the way, now the only problem with that is you can also get some pain now and then if you're of a certain age.
That's true.
We're getting out here in the spring. We're starting to do the BT Express stuff, and we're moving, and you can experience some pain. And where do you go to get it fixed? I know the place. Leader Heights Spine, Joint, and Nerve Associates. Yeah, maybe you're out doing some digging in the garden now. Maybe you're playing golf like I am. Maybe you're walking up holes you haven't walked in a while, and you feel like it's a Bataan death march. The last 2 holes you walk up in 9 holes, and you're saying, my back, it's killing me. Where do you go? You go to Dr. Kim Carosi. Right over there at Leader Heights Spine, Joint, and Nerve Associates. I'll tell you what, she is the best that I have ever found. And why? I've been going there for 10 years. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going in with some pain in my back from playing a lot of golf, and she has fixed me every single time. 17 years of experience talking there. She deals in disc herniations, even migraines, sports injuries. For you ladies who are pregnant, she even can help you with pregnancy pain. She's experienced in all phases of treatment, from childhood to elder care, and she has a whole range of services and products right there, including chiropractic adjustments, massage therapy, spinal decompression, and laser therapies to help patients achieve health goals. Now, a lot of you say, chiropractic, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I wasn't either when I first started. I'm absolutely sold on what she does now. She understands the body better than anyone I have ever come across. And when it comes to lower back pain, ladies and gentlemen, I've sent friends of mine from the golf course there over the last 10 years who have all come away very, very happy. And she can help you too. Why don't you give her a call? Check her out, 717-741-4848. She's located in Medford Professional Center in Leader Heights at 2200 South George Street, New York. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're having a pain in the neck, I can't help you with it if it's a person, but I can help you with it if it's in the pain in your body somewhere. Dr. Kim Carosi can help you on that. 2200 South George Street, New York. Call her today, 717-741-4848. I'll do that again. I was so excited. 717-741-4848. The office staff is available to answer your questions and make appointments on weekdays, 8 to 5 p.m. They're open Monday and Wednesday, 8 o'clock to 6:30. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 2 o'clock to 6:30. And then Friday, 8 o'clock to 5 p.m., closed on Saturdays and Sundays. They are ready to help you right now with any pain that you have. Ladies and gentlemen, please call her today. If you're having all kinds of chronic pain, Dr. Kim Carosi might be the answer. 717-741-4848 or go to lhspine.com. And please tell them Gary Sutton, a customer, a client, proudly sent you. WOYK News Time, 7:37. And with that, we bring in someone who's never a pain in the neck, but always a resource in the community. I'm talking about Jamie Norpel, who's with us here this morning on the Gary Sutton Show. How do you like that for a very smooth segue? That's why we are semi-professionals here, Jamie.
Good morning, Gary. You're sounding a lot better than last week.
Why? I was fine last week.
Last week you were recovering from being sick. I feel like this week you've got a new revived pep in your step.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So you noticed that. I mean, you are a very intuitive kind of person. I know that. I found that out now getting to know you over the past month or two. And so I will take your word and I feel better. I really do feel a lot better. And I always feel better when I'm talking to you on a Tuesday morning. York County Safety Collab, Logos Works you're involved with. But, you're into relationships and getting people connected in the community and working together and getting one voice and all that. Tell us a little bit about the voice that kind of came about, the clergy, the police in this community, and how important that association is.
Yeah, the York County Safety Collab, we're a coalition of law enforcement and community members. And the reason why we're even formed today was because back in 2016, when Freddie Gray was murdered down in Baltimore, there was some concern that the riots happening down south would make it up to York County. So the police and the clergy got together and they said we need to kind of hash out our differences behind closed doors in a safe space where we can listen and hear one another. And that ended up leading to a monthly meeting between chiefs and clergy that they continue to still meet. We just had our meeting 2 weeks ago at Northern. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the relationships that were formed and the conversations that are happening. because the people in York County really have a lot to be proud of when it comes to our faith-based communities and our police, because there's not too many other communities where the police every month set aside their schedules and go to either Logos Works, which houses York County Safety Collab, or goes to various police departments, and we talk about what's happening in our community.
We've talked about that, and Aaron Anderson has talked about it. I know Reverend Bill has talked about that as well. How has the conversation advanced from that very first meeting? I know you were in on that, to the present day, where you're now talking about things. Has it gotten beyond the racial kind of thing? I know that was a concern in the beginning, obviously with the Freddie Gray and the Floyd thing and all that, the killings. Has it gotten to a place where the racial stuff is in the background? Is it still a big part of it? Talk a little bit about that and where you're at today in those conversations.
Yeah, so when it first started, race was a primary concern because there was a lot of Black Lives Matter protests and defund the police movements happening across the county. So that was the issue. Today, of course, race is still an underlying issue. However, the conversation has shifted more towards the crime and the behavior that's happening across the county, because the police want to take the opportunity to educate people on what's actually happening, because the news only covers a small portion of what's occurring. So, for example, North County, our Northern Regional, just hosted us a couple weeks ago, and Chief Lash explained the uptick in his patrol officers that are on Route 30. That corridor on Route 30 and 83 on Manchester Township there in kind of North York area. Well, about 2 years ago, there was a push to put in 2 officers full-time in that area. It's called the PACE unit. It stands for Proactive Criminal Enforcement Unit. And so Chief Lash just took an opportunity to say, here's why we're doing this. Those hotels right there, there are about 12 hotels right there. Right. That is where some of the highest rates of our human trafficking is happening in our neighborhoods. And it's happening here, Gary. We have human trafficking issues. We have prostitution. We have teenagers who are finding people online, who are meeting them. Some of them are running away with them. Some of them are getting kidnapped. Some of them are just unfortunately, used, and then they go home, and then we have to work through a lot of trauma. And so Chief Lash just explained, here's why there's so many police cars in that area. It's not because we're targeting those neighborhoods. It is because that is where the crime is, and we're going to go to where the crime is. Wow. And so the clergy, when they hear this, they can go back to their communities then and just kind of explain to their, consumers and their clients, when their constituents, when they're concerned about things, here's kind of the backstory of why the police are making the choices that they are.
Yeah, I never knew that until you just said it. I'll be honest with you, I used to go through there regularly when I went out to my old job out on Route 30 East, and I go through that area every morning. I think, oh my gosh, this place is got police everywhere. And I often thought it was just to stop people going, too fast out to their work or whatever it might be. But there's a lot more to it than that, huh?
Yeah, it's so funny. So one of the first questions I asked police when I started working with them is the quota thing real? At the end of the month, do you have to pull more people over to meet the quota? And the answer is no, right? They don't keep track of that. In fact, when police write tickets, the actual amount that goes back to the municipalities and the police departments is minuscule. It's about 25% of the ticket. So they're not doing it to line their
By
pockets.
the way, I was a part of that 25% at one point in time for one stop one morning. Yeah, it was. I was there. I raised my hand. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, just that, that Route 30 corridor, we have arms dealers in York County. We have people who sell weapons, especially people that come down from Harrisburg, and not from Baltimore. It's also where there are a lot of drug sales. So Chief Lash and I were talking a couple weeks ago, and it's about an arrest a day that happens there on that Route 30 corridor. And the idea is if they can police it hard and send a message to the people who are human trafficking, our children, our teenagers, the women in our community, then they'll stop. They won't happen there. Now, you could argue that they might push it to another location, but even if it causes a temporary lull in that criminal activity, it's a win.
I heard something years ago when Mayor Giuliani was mayor of New York, that when he pushed a lot of the drug traffic out of New York City with the whole broken window theory that every little thing counted, that it came basically down the main highways, and one of the stops was York, that there was this kind of domino effect that a lot of that crime got pushed out of New York City at that time. That was a lot of years ago, obviously, but still got pushed out of there. And we saw places like we heard about the 37 gangs here in New York City and that kind of stuff. Have you heard that before? Is there evidence to support that still is the case, or there's vestiges of that still kind of left over here years later?
I'm not sure about that. I had to go back and look at the history. You know, I love history, so I can actually dive into that. That's interesting. But I mean, so in York County, we really don't call them gangs as much. It's more groups.
Right.
And that's because it's not as hierarchical and organized as people like to think.
Okay.
You know, like, so, because there's these gangs, we have the Bloods, we have the Crips. That doesn't really happen in New York. It's more of the north side hates the south side, who hates the east side, who hates the west side. So in New York City, it's more of a geographical distribution and not so much of that highly organized, like kingpin criminal activity. It's more of just cohorts of people who develop dislike towards one another, and unfortunately, because of the lack of support or because of, you know, fill in reason here, they end up resorting to gun violence. Interesting.
So now we've learned something this morning about the corridor, that Route 30 corridor. What else, you know, in terms of the conversation you were at the other week with the clergy and with the police, what other things are on the table right now here as they've continued that over the years here and getting the New York Safety Collab going?
Yeah, so back to the reason why Chief Lash brought that up about the human trafficking that's happening on Route 30 is because he wanted the clergy to be aware of how people are being targeted, because there are apps that kids are getting into on their phones, you know, or if they're not monitored on their computers, and they start talking to people who are very persuasive. You know, we have teenagers who are trying to find their way. They're struggling with their identity. They might not feel like they fit in.
Right.
And they find someone online who makes them feel pretty, who tells them they're going to take care of them, who gives them money, you know, sometimes. And so they agree to meet them, and it's this slow grooming process. And so Chief Lash was kind of explaining, and, you know, I know PSP, the Pennsylvania State Police, is also doing a lot of work in this area. There are other police departments in York County who are strongly working on this, just trying to educate adults and parents what to be on the lookout for so they can intervene if their child ever finds themselves talking to someone online who might be dangerous.
Wow. I tell you what, it is frightening out there to look at what is being done right now in terms of trying to draw people in, bilk people, all that kind of stuff. You're talking specifically about the safety part of it right now, but there's so many things out there. And so what you're saying is, what do we do then to help these kids who are off in a moment somewhere doing this kind of stuff? I guess that's a big question right now. Final thoughts this morning, Jamie.
Yeah. And, you know, the issue is that unless police talk to us, the community doesn't know what's happening. And that's the power of these chiefs and clergy partnerships. It shows that the police are interested in cooperating more, and that also our community is willing to listen and build this relationship and build that dialogue. So those meetings are really just about listening. And I encourage any of the listeners, if they're interested, go and talk to their local police department. Chances are the chief is willing to talk with you. And if not, of course, I'd love to pass along any messages, because law enforcement in York County wants people to be aware of what's happening so they can be proactive. So it's more of a team approach.
Good stuff. And where can people find out more information again for the York County Safety Collaborative?
And go to YorkCountySafetyCollab.com, or you can go on Facebook, look up the same name, or Instagram. We are on all the socials.
You're everywhere, and there's nobody more social than Jamie Norpel, who is ready to help you right now. She has been connecting social people all over the place, even a few unsocial people occasionally, and getting them to be one voice here in York County for safety, preventative, proactive, and otherwise. All here for York County. It is truly a pilgrimage that she's on right now. Jamie, always good having you on a Tuesday morning. Thank you so much. And you have a great rest of the week, okay?
Thanks, Gary. You too.
Thanks,
Bye.
Jamie. Take care. Jamie Norpel with us here this morning on the Gary Sutton Show, where it is 7:49. welcome back to the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK, where it is a Tuesday morning. Like this song, too.
Neil Sedaka with Elton John.
Yeah, good piece.
It was number one.
Yeah.
Late 75. The name of the song. Should we just let them do it?
Go ahead. Let them tell. There you go.
Bad Blood.
Bad Blood, yeah. Bad Blood. Neil Sedaka and Elton John. By the way, Barley Snyder is our presenting sponsor here on the Gary Sutton Show, and we talk about that every morning right now. They just joined us this week, and their clients benefit from having available to them one law firm with a wide range of knowledge and experience represented among their practice areas. They believe that the strong individual relationships and personal attention are essential elements in serving their clients. And they place great emphasis on a full understanding of each client's needs and objectives to provide the most effective representation. That's why they have such a great name here in central Pennsylvania and right here in New York. They provide the kind of service their clients expect and deserve by working with a hands-on, collaborative approach to legal representation. They also serve the communities in so many different ways. They're proud to report on a yearly basis they collectively volunteer more than 3,000 public hours of service in the various communities, and their attorneys contribute financially, serve on boards, and volunteer for more than 200 organizations in the areas of education and social services, the arts, youth athletics, and professional associations. Paul Minnick was talking yesterday here in Barley Snyder, New York, about being on the board there at WellSpan. So you get an idea of just how involved they are. So you can check out Barley Snyder. In fact, we have an office right here in New York at 100 East Market Street in New York. You can call them at 717-846-8888. They're open at 9 a.m. today, and they are ready to help you. In fact, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday right here in New York, and Monday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. as well. Barley Snyder, they are ready to help your business succeed today, and they will help in so many different areas. Find out if they can help you right here. Go to barley.com and check out what all they can do. WOYK News Time is 7:55. Mark, we got more stories this morning.
So we missed this one last hour. We were talking about yesterday. You asked a question about what was annoying on plane flights. Was that?
Yes.
So screaming babies, that kind of thing.
Sure.
One thing you didn't mention, though, was animals on a plane.
Right.
But this report does.
Take a pause.
Think you could handle listening to this for nearly 8 hours? A Reddit user said they had to listen to a dog barking all the way on a flight from Paris to Newark. The dog wouldn't quit, so that sparked the debate. Should dogs be allowed on planes?
It's not fair to have dogs in the same space where people might be sensitive to the noise.
Passengers at Newark Liberty International had mixed opinions.
They're not too big and smelly. It's okay,
Some folks recommend drugs like gabapentin to make sure Fido naps on the flight. But if you don't want to medicate your dog, you could try the pheromone calming collar. Either way, talk to your vet before that long trip or consider leaving Fido home. You can board them, leave them with a pet sitter, or take your chances on this.
No, they're not allowed. What about the crying baby? What's the difference?
Take a pause. Jill Nato, Fox News.
Now, did she mention that the carrier that the dog was in was too small?
No, she did not mention that.
Yeah, apparently that was the reason. That was the reason.
Wouldn't you bark too a little bit?
You would think.
Yeah.
Let's talk about other transportation issues. How about this? A cruise ship where you've heard about people getting like the norovirus or getting sick. How about 200 people getting sick?
The sick passengers and crew are aboard the Queen Mary 2. The CDC says the ship was bound from Southampton, England to New York City when the virus ran rampant through the ship. As a result, the passengers can't disembark but must remain on board until the infection runs its course. The cruise line says they've completed a deep clean of the ship. The CDC says a smaller outbreak is reported on the Seabourn Encore cruise ship. Gary Baumgarten, Fox News.
So what's the deep clean?
Yeah, I don't know how much they do in the deep clean.
Here's the deep clean.
Go ahead.
Ready? They put alcohol
All right.
Isopropyl alcohol in a spray bottle, and they just
supposedly kills everything.
Spray everything. Yes.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. I mean, I guess that's
right.
The only thing you could do, I suppose.
Yes. And since we're on the subject of planes, and is there a concern about safety in the air, check out this story from last weekend.
United Airlines confirms to Fox Digital we're aware of reports that a kite struck UA Flight 654 from Houston to Reagan Airport in Washington, D.C., but confirms the aircraft landed safely with no damage Saturday afternoon. The Metro Washington Airport Authority confirms police responded to reports of kite flying at Gravelly Point, which is not allowed in that area due to the danger to low-flying aircraft. The Arlington, Virginia park is known for recreational plane spotting along the Potomac, only a few hundred feet away from the runway at DCA. Control tower chatter over liveatc.net has the pilot telling the tower it was about 100 feet over the ground. It looked like it was right on the flight deck. Therese Crowley, Fox News.
I'm telling you what, man, I wouldn't fly into Reagan now for all the money in the world. It's just crazy out there. And they did almost have another
incident?
Incident the other day there. They had a jet flying in and they had a plane coming in and they just dodged each other at the last second. I mean, it's really scary down there at the moment. So we'll hopefully get things straightened out at some point in time. We got rid of the helicopters now. They're not allowed to fly in there, but
I have a wedding to go to in November.
Yeah.
In New England. We're walking.
You're walking. Yeah, just strolling. Yeah, start now. You can get there. But the idea of flying into Reagan, apparently enough, and they say that when you fly in there at night, the lights that come from the Capitol and from the highways that are right next to the airport there throw you off a little bit as well. So not a good place to get into. By the way, coming up next hour here on the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK, Steve Wilson, Pioneer Institute Senior Fellow, talks about his research and recommendations on the most important product that we produce, education, and how charter schools can improve it. He'll tell you all about that. And Eugene Pasquale wades into politics at 8:35. All here on WOYK. It is 8 o'clock.
York's only local show is back on its new home on York's only local station.
Guess who's back? Back again.
This is the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK.
I'm back.
Now, broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown York studios inside Wellspan Park, here's Gary Sutton.
And welcome back to the Main Street of America. And yes, right here in York County, it's the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK, brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Barley Snyder Law Firm, a strategically focused law firm representing businesses, organizations, and individuals in all major areas of civil law. They have over 130 attorneys with offices throughout Pennsylvania and Maryland, and they are ready to represent you. Check them out at barley.com to see if they can help you. They distinguish themselves by focusing on excellent client service, a true commitment to their communities, and a reputation for results. Gary Sutton, Mark McKenzie here this morning.
So just be aware, It is April 1st, just so you know what that means.
Right.
What does it mean?
April 1st means April Fools.
April Fools, and it also means today International Fun at Work Day.
Which is every day for us.
Pretty much.
Frankly. Yeah, I mean, it really is.
It is, specifically for you, it is National Trombone Players Day.
Which I am, although I've not played a lot recently, but I was at one time fairly accomplished, I guess you'd say.
I was in order to play, what do we have to wait for? Bring your trombone to work day?
Yeah, bring your trombone to work day, Gary.
Anyway,
that would be, it'd be a little more personalized.
Food holiday, sure. National Sourdough Bread Day.
There you go. Which my dad used to take around to people as kind of a nice thing to do. Just to, people take cards and jellies and things like that. He was a baker. He took sourdough bread around to people, and it was a conversation starter a lot of times for him. If he hadn't seen somebody in a while and he thought maybe they were not feeling well, he'd go knock on the door and say, "Here, I've got some sourdough bread for you." And I love sourdough bread. I really do.
It's okay.
No, I think it's got to be made a certain way. Yes. I think it's good. By the way, this hour, the 8 o'clock hour, brought to you by York Computer. Yeah, check them out at yorkcomputer.net because, it feels good to have peace of mind. www.yorkcomputer.net, formerly York Computer Repair. You can call them at 717-739-9675. And we are joined this hour at 8:07 by Steve Wilson, Pioneer Institute Senior Fellow, who wants to talk a little bit about education this morning. You talk about the most important thing we produce in this country. How about our next generation citizens, huh? And we only do that through education. Good morning, Steve. How are you?
Good morning. How are you, Gary? Great to be with you.
Steve, I'm doing well. Tell me a little bit about Pioneer Institute. I'm interested because that's a new name to me. I have not come across that too much. And tell people a little bit about what you do there and the fact you're a senior fellow there.
Right. Well, it's not actually far from you in Massachusetts.
Okay.
A think tank that focuses on mainly on state public policy, which isn't a bad way into the topic, right? Because education is mainly a state and local issue, not a federal issue. But Pioneer has worked on education policy for about 3 decades and was a big contributor to the Massachusetts reforms that ended up in 1993, making Massachusetts rise to the top of the 50 states in terms of student achievement. I was very lucky to be working with Governor Bill Weld at the time and to work on that project. So that's a bit about Pioneer. And that's my work today as well, which is we are facing, of course, a real crisis in education post-pandemic. We have the new results on the so-called Nation's Report Card, which I'm sure you've discussed.
I have.
With your listeners. It's pretty dismaying, and we have a lot of work to do.
I was a teacher for 25 years before I started doing this about 30 years ago. And I also hold a principal certificate in educational administration. And my parents were both. My dad was a principal. My mother was a teacher. So I get it, honestly. I'm really interested in education and all the various things on. And the face of public education particularly has been changing over these last bunch of years. And, of course, COVID knocked us back with the so-called virtual learning. We're still recovering from all of that. But tell me a little bit about what you found out and what you're working on right now, Steve, in terms of some of your recommendations on education and how charter schools can possibly be involved in helping to improve that.
Absolutely. So first of all, on your history as a teacher and your parents, teaching is among the hardest jobs in the world. I'm sure you'd agree with that.
It is.
To be there for your kids, period after day, all day long. It's a very demanding job. But to your question, absolutely, charter schools play an extraordinarily important role here. We need to introduce a modicum, a little bit of competition into a stagnant education system. We can't take, as you said at the top of the segment, the most important job before us, which is raising the next generation of kids, and say this is the one activity that we are going to deprive of competition, of the press to get better. And what we now know is that when you introduce a bit of competition into stagnant, especially large urban systems, which are performing the poorest, it has extraordinary results. And we have seen networks like KIPP, the Knowledge is Power program, probably the best known large urban charter school network in the country, has actually closed and begun to reverse longstanding achievement gaps of class and income. And that's an extraordinary achievement. It's the most important educational success, I would say, in the last century. But then we turned away from it with the rise of social justice education, replacing academic teaching with therapy and with a kind of political indoctrination.
Right.
It's really devastated a lot of these wonderful schools.
You know what's interesting about all that, Steve, is I watched that whole social justice thing and so forth. It was the lazy person's way out of education, from my standpoint. The idea that somehow we're going to turn to something else other than educating children. And we did such a disservice to children by saying, well, let's get all the social justice stuff in there, and that'll all help to take care of this. It didn't. And what we've done now is we've gotten away from actually teaching people to making excuses for people as young people here in our educational system. Would you agree on that?
I not only agree, I agree so very strongly. This is such an important point. And as a teacher, you know, it's a lot of teachers are tempted to become therapists or to try to heal the wounds of what they see in their kids. They're very caring people by nature. And so they're very drawn to that. There are also, unfortunately, a lot of particularly young new teachers are coming out of colleges and universities with a really distorted view of the world, where everything is reduced to oppressors and oppressed, and they want to bring this kind of mindset into the classroom. So the much harder job choice is to actually teach the kids. And so it is a case where many teachers moved away from that, as you said, and we need to get back, especially after the pandemic learning losses. We need to accelerate instruction with rigorous academics. I have to say that the biggest problem in American education is low expectations of what our students can know and do. They are so much better than we imagine them. And to say that we are, quote, empowering them by this kind of program of social justice education, no, we're leaving them at the sidelines. They're going to be more excluded, more disempowered by not having taught them.
I have gotten so disgusted over the years. And again, I'm not looking at it as a right-left thing or anything else. Just the DEI kind of stuff, this whole empowering thing. We're going to invest and we're going to do all these, the political babble words that we use instead of just saying, we are going to all reach for a very high goal. We might take a little bit less than that, but we're going to reach very high, and we're going to ask for you to come to that as people, as students. It doesn't matter about the color. It doesn't matter about all these other things. We're going to ask you to come to there. If there are other little things that are problems along the way, we're going to help you to get those problems taken care of so that we can all get on that same road to achievement. Isn't that what it's all about? Instead of this idea, well, you can't make it there because of these low expectations we have for you because of the social things you've been through and the injustices that have been done to you. We're so busy making excuses there that we forget to go out and actually get on the road to achievement. That's what it's really all about.
That's right. And that's why this new generation of schools was dubbed no excuses schools. People misunderstand that term, understandably, right? They look at that term and they think that means wailing on kids and being harsh to them. That's not true
at all.
It meant that the educators, the adults in the building, would say to themselves a very important thing. We're going to stop making excuses for why our students aren't learning. We're not going to blame poverty. We're not going to blame racism. We're not going to say we don't have enough money in this building, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all of which may be true. But instead, we're going to say within these four walls, we have what it takes to take every child to the level they need to be, to put them on the path to career, to college, whatever their aspirations are. And we bungled that. We turned away from that, and it was working. So, yes, I entirely agree. And unfortunately, it's still worse than this, Gary, as you are implying, because a relentless diet of saying that you are the victim, that you have no prospects, that the world is rigged against you.
Right.
It's stultifying. It kills curiosity. It kills an interest in learning. We need to stop doing that. We need students to believe that they have agency, that they have power. If they apply themselves, there is opportunity. That's not what they've been hearing for the last 5 years.
When you look at, I've talked to some of my friends in public education. I've been out of it now for about 27, 28 years. And I talk to my friends who are still in it, and they'll say, oh, my gosh, we're getting a bad rap because of charter schools, because of parochial schools, private schools, people schooling their kids at home. And they said, what do we do? I said, do what they're doing. You know, if those people are getting the higher marks, if those people are getting better results right now, do what they're doing. You know, I always looked at the standpoint of saying, no, go out and find out what they're doing and copy that and start to hold people to a higher standard, because I don't know that public schools are doing that right now. In some cases, they're so busy kind of making excuses for why they're not doing things, they forget to actually do the stuff that you can really get done there and get back to teaching the courses, get back to doing all that stuff instead of all the garbage to the side.
So interesting that you should mention that, because one of the things that is a hallmark of the charter sector is humility and intense interest in what is working.
Right.
A lot of the founders of these schools, what they did is they just went and visited and visited and visited. They went to schools that were killing it, and they tried to see common themes, common practices, and they stole them. And the people they stole them from were delighted that they were stolen.
Right.
And duplicated. And that's what you have to be interested in what works. It's not about trendy concepts and ed school nonsense. It's about what is actually working. Let's learn from those practices and put them into our building. You know, we call it the 101% solutions. It's not one thing. You have to have a great curriculum. You have to have effective pedagogies. You have to have a sensible approach to scheduling. You have so many things that have to be working. But if you are meticulous about driving for excellence in each of those elements, you will have a great school that is worthy of the students in your charge.
Yeah, but you have to have that laser focus. I hate to use the word, it's been overused, laser focus, but you really do have to pinpoint in a focus on teaching and learning. And I've seen some charter schools also that carry off, they go off and they become a charter school, but they do the same kind of thinking that maybe the school they came from has been doing, which has led to failure. And so I think that charter schools need to make sure that they stay on that very focus you're talking about right there, Steve. Final thoughts this morning on this.
Well, just that in the last 5 years, we've turned away from these networks that were very high performing. After the racial reckoning, the murder of George Floyd, instead of doubling down on these successful practices, some of them went on an apology tour. They have nothing to apologize for. They were getting great results, and they should do more of it.
Where can people
I hope that we can restore the focus on excellence that you're describing.
Sorry about that, Steve. Didn't mean to interrupt you. Where can you find more information on this, Steve? Because it's such an important topic.
Shameless plug for my new book. It's called The Lost Decade.
Okay.
And you can find it on Amazon. And it's about this very phenomenon, how we can all get involved to create a new generation of much, much better schools for our kids.
The Lost Decade, Steve Wilson. Check it out on Amazon if you're worried about the biggest product we produce in our country, the most important one. There it is. Steve, I look forward to talking to you again. Thank you so much for a great conversation this morning.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
Have a great morning.
Steve Wilson, The Lost Decade. Check it out on Amazon. Worth the read. We'll take a break. We'll come back with more here on The Gary Sutton Show, where it is 8:18 on a Tuesday morning. I used to tell you about York Computer Repair all the time. Well, they've changed their name a little bit as we hear Tavares bringing us back here. Yeah, it's now York Computer. And you can find them at a couple different places. You can find them at yorkcomputer.net, or you can go to yourdigitalbodyguard.com/services. But wherever you go there, you're going to find a place that's going to give you peace of mind. It feels good to have peace of mind when it comes to your computer, doesn't it? I know that for sure because I use my computer every single day in just about everything I do. Now, they're located at 2069 Carlisle Road out in the Shiloh area of York, and they're ready to help you right now. They're open Monday to Friday, 9 p.m. to 5 p.m., or 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., rather, and you can call them at 717-739-9675. But what can they do for you? You ask that question. They do all kinds of things like comprehensive IT support. They're so confident in their service that if they can't fix the problem, you don't pay. All repairs come with a 30-day guarantee. They've got quick repair, on-time delivery. Those are the hallmarks of what they do. But they can also do some other things too, like build and repair custom gaming rigs tailored to your needs. They have data backup and recovery. They'll secure your data with regular backups and fast recovery solutions. Laptop repair. They've also got other services like virus removal, custom-built computers, all those kind of things and much, much more. They can fix it for small business. They can fix it for residential. They can fix it at their shop. They can even remote into your home or into your business and help you there if you're on a really tight schedule. They are ready to help you today. York Computer. I have been using them for a long time, and Walt Oakham and all the good people over there are ready to help you today. What are you waiting for? Go to yorkcomputer.net or yourdigitalbodyguard.com/services. But either way, you're going to get to the one place where they can repair your computer. They have new and used computers. They can do all the things I mentioned a moment ago, and they can help you when it comes to your computer needs like no one else in the area. York Computer. Give them a call today at 717-739-9675 or go to yorkcomputer.net. Tell them Gary Sutton proudly sent you because there's only one place you need when it comes to your computer. It's your computer. 717-739-9675. Tell them Gary Sutton sent you today. WOYK News Time is 8:24. Mark?
So let's talk about our usual. It's the only feature we have from Fox News other than maybe Fox Sports Update, which we didn't have today. Sorry about that. But it's this particular feature.
This is House Call for Health. We know getting good sleep is essential for good health. But if you need another reason to catch more Z's, researchers say getting enough of certain sleep stages could affect your Alzheimer's risk. Researchers from the Yale School of Medicine analyzing sleep data from over 250 people, looking at how long they spent in various sleep stages. Then they compared those sleep cycles to MRI brain scans taken up to 17 years later. And they found critical regions of the brain were significantly smaller in people who get less deep sleep and dream sleep. The regions affected are known to undergo early changes in Alzheimer's. The findings appear in the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine. For more health news, go to foxnewshealth.com. House Call for Health. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
See, did you hear that story?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Not until now.
Not till now, right. Well, see, I heard this story and she gave it a lot more detail than what I initially heard. So I sleep twice a day. And I worry, do I get the deep sleep? But then she also linked it to dreams. And I probably have never remembered, wake up with remembering dreams that I have in the last year.
I have been having the strangest dreams, vivid dreams.
About trombones?
No, last night I assassinated somebody in my sleep.
Anybody we know?
Well, I was at a party and I assassinated them. That was the worst part. It was a...
Was it an assassination party?
It was I forget who I was assassinating last night, but it was really weird. And it was it wasn't unenjoyable to go through how they were stopping to see me. They were very nice to me when they arrested me, but it was just an odd. I haven't been an assassin that often in my dreams. Uh-huh. So it was really, I just say no to drugs. I mean, I take Tylenol before I go to bed, but.
Was it the victim of your April Fool's joke?
I don't know. But I've been getting these a lot. But I've been sleeping well. Been very deep sleep. But these vivid dreams. Has anybody else had these vivid dreams? I wonder, where did your mind get all that stuff? And it puts you in very specific situations and places that you've never been before. I don't know how your mind works like that. Yeah.
Usually there's some. What I notice, it's a connection to a place that I know.
Yeah. See, in my case, it wasn't. It wasn't. Now there were people in there that I knew. But the place that I was at was just totally somewhere I've never been before.
So how did you assassinate this?
I shot him.
Victim.
Yeah, I shot him.
With a shotgun, bow and arrow.
I forget what it was. It was like a single shot kind of thing, and I don't know why I did it either.
Was it Aaron Burr?
No, it wasn't any of that at all.
Oh, okay. Just
like I said, this is the mind is a terrible thing, and it must be stopped in our lifetime. At least mine has to. It's just the things that I tell my wife during the day, and she looks at me like, "Are you okay? Have you gone around the bend? Been spending too much time with Mark?" I don't know. She looks at me and has these questions for me, and I said, I really can't answer.
Well, I'm just saying that we have these odd sleep patterns, and I'm sure we're not the only one. So I was concerned initially when I heard that, but as she put more meat on the bone, I'm assuming that if I'm remembering at least initially some dreams, that must be. I must have been in some sort of deep sleep in order to...
Well, yeah, because you can't get... Well, they talk about the REM sleep, right?
Yes, where you're at rapid eye movement.
Exactly. Yes. And so I went to bed early last night, deep sleep, and, it just...
But it was a bloodbath.
But it was a bloodbath. By the time I got up, I was tired. I've been working really hard.
Hey, now this is not an April Fool's joke, okay?
All right.
It is not...
We're serious here.
We're being totally serious.
The volcanic fissure opened near a town called Grindavik, setting off sirens and accompanied by an earthquake.
Yes, it was a volcano erupting in Iceland.
Flames, smoke and lava shooting out of the ground. The nearby Blue Lagoon Spa was evacuated, along with some 40 homes. The same community was evacuated a year ago when the volcano came to life, having been dormant for 800 years. Iceland's Met Office says the fissure is about 500 yards long and has breached a protective barrier. The island has seen 11 eruptions in the past 4 years, none as severe as a 2010 incident, which resulted in ash clouds that disrupted air travel for months. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
Check off another place I don't need to live now. When the Blue Lagoon Spa becomes the Red Lava Spa, not a place I want to be.
All right, so here's I hear people complain that they don't make movies for me. There are all these superhero movies and that kind of thing. Yeah. So when am I they gotta have put a movie for me to go and watch? Well, I think this might be, I've noticed it more and more. If you check your local theater, if you take a look at a number of theaters around you, what they've started to do is show old movies, re-release the old movies.
I've noticed a lot of that.
Yeah, and you get a chance to see maybe movies you never saw in the theater, have that theater experience. This one in particular, I think you probably have seen, but they are doing a re-release like that.
What is the Matrix? It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
26 years after The Matrix revolutionized cinema with its iconic bullet time visuals and blend of philosophy, martial arts, and technology, the film is set to break new ground again, this time partnering with immersive entertainment company Cosm starting June 6. Cosm's venues in Los Angeles and Dallas will screen the original film surrounded by an 87-foot LED dome showcasing additional visual elements that place audiences directly into the world of The Matrix. The Matrix stars Keanu Reeves as a hacker who discovers humans are trapped in a simulated reality. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
A huge dome. I like that.
Yeah, me too.
I would be interested in that. When we come back, Eugenia Pasquale joins us at 8:35, the former Auditor General of Pennsylvania, who likes to break down the politics of the day. He and I will do it together at 8:35 here on the Gary Sutton Show, the Main Street of America and York County, all here on WOYK. Welcome back to the Gary Sutton Show here on WOYK. It is the Main Street of America and York County. Brought to you this hour by York Computer, yorkcomputer.net. It's good to have peace of mind when it comes to your computer, right? And a little bit of...
Do you remember that?
John... I like this song.
Well, it's a song that you never hear. I mean, even on like the oldie stations, you don't hear Calypso. Remember
Calypso? I haven't heard it for a while.
Remember at the end when he would do the yodeling?
Calypso,
everybody.
The stories you tell. I, Calypso, I'll sing you the spirit.
The men who have served you so long and so well. I, Calypso, the places you've been to.
And they're still singing Country Boy every seventh inning down at Baltimore, as they did yesterday. Didn't he die in a plane crash or something?
Yes, he was flying his own plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of sad.
What's his name? I just
John Denver.
John Denver. I couldn't think of John.
Oh,
I kept thinking of Colorado and Denver.
It's one of those great, like troubadourish kind of.
Oh yeah,
a guy who could entertain a crowd with just him and his guitar. So
who was the other guy that sang like the Edmund Fitzgerald? He was kind of a troubadour.
Gordon Lightfoot.
Gordon Lightfoot.
He died within the last 6 months.
Yeah. So John Denver with the Calypso, a very clear, neat story. Yeah.
What did you say? You know, those memories that are still there.
Sure. It's important to kind of keep those in mind.
I think so.
Yeah, it's like Eugene DePasquale. We keep him in mind every Tuesday morning at 8:35 about this time, former Auditor General, who we wade into the world of politics, but we have a lot of fun, too. It's also opening baseball season, or for a good Pittsburgh Pirates fan, all things spring eternal, right, Eugene? Good morning.
Well, it was until they've already, against one of the worst teams in baseball, blew 3 out of their 4 games. They blew 3 leads, 3 walk-offs for the Marlins. So that eternal optimism has been dashed.
Been shot already and thrown on the rocks and shoals of misery, and we understand how that goes. We did our podcast the other week, by the way, on Just a Voice on Main Street. You can watch that, by the way, if you go to YouTube and put Just a Voice on Main Street, and Eugene and I are there. Eugene had the courage, some would say the audacity, to wear his Pittsburgh Pirates shirt in that, and now he'll be wearing a Phillies shirt, I guess, after that. Never. But
let's stick with the audacious. Let's stick with that.
I liked it.
My daughter in college had an internship with the Phillies, by the way, and she had an interesting first run-in with the Fanatic, but I don't want to get the guy in trouble, so
no.
we'll keep that.
We're not going to talk about the Fanatic at this point. You know, I asked a question to someone the other day about, are we too hung up on personality of the moment politics anymore, where we get so hung up on the personality of the person, we forget about the policies that we're actually talking about and the seriousness of that. Do you understand what I'm saying with that? Like, we get the whole Trump thing, or the Bernie Sanders thing, or the AOC thing, or the Barack Obama thing, or whoever happens to be in there. We get so tied up on the personalities of these people, we forget they come and go. But what we're left with are the policies that they leave behind. Your thoughts on that this morning, Eugene?
Well, I don't think that's new to the current state. I mean,
no.
Very few people really remember a lot of the policies. Maybe they remember the Cuban Missile Crisis, to a degree. But what did they tell? Kennedy was charming. Jackie was charming. The good looks.
Camelot, and all that stuff.
So it's not new. Having said that, is it less important how charming they are as opposed to their policies, of course. But what I think is different now is you get much more the flavor of the day. I think that what is different now is that there are people that literally become a star for a week and then they just go away again.
Well, yeah, you might be right on that. I'm thinking more from the standpoint, I guess, I look around and I hear people talk and they say, all right, Trump came up with this policy, it must suck. Or Trump came up with this policy, it must be great. Okay, we got to follow this forever. That's what I'm kind of looking at in the moment. I call it the personality of the moment politics, because we just kind of latch on and say, here we are, let's go. Well, Trump came up with it. Let me find the bad in that. Trump came up with it. Let's find the great in that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think we are much more, polarized today. They did a poll one time when Obama was president, where and it was sort of funny but sad at the same time. They took the Congressional Republican deficit reduction plan in a poll, but described it as Obama's plan.
Yeah.
Then they took President Obama's plan.
That's a great move.
And described it as the Congressional Republican plan. And lo and behold,
they loved it.
The Republicans loved the Obama plan because it was described as the Republican plan, and vice versa with the Democrats. And I remember seeing that going, "Oh, we're in trouble, folks."
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. And we become so dumb that we just follow the personalities around and say, "Whoop, Trump did it. That's where I'm going." Or people say, "Oh, Trump. Oh, God, he's terrible. There must be something awful in this plan." So we look at that right now. Have we always worried about, I guess the one thing right now that is a concern from a policy standpoint, Eugene, and we touched on this before, but I find people talking about this more, the idea of one person having too much power. I think we in America, ever since the founding fathers, have worried about one person having too much power, which is why when George Washington they were talking about calling him Your Excellency, he said, "How about just Mr. President will be fine." Right. There was a humbleness to Washington that I think was good. And a humbleness to Washington said, "I'm only going to serve 2 terms. More than that is too much." We hear the president talking now about having to serve a 3rd term. I'm trying to figure out how he would ever do that because you can't do it according to the 22nd Amendment. Right. But your thoughts on that, one person having too much power?
Look, I think that there's no question about it. And I think Trump, we've talked about this before, Trump is a symptom of this, not the cause, which is congressional dysfunction has been so bad for 20 years. That they haven't legislated, haven't passed a budget. They're performative now. They're Instagram stars, they're this, they're that, but they don't actually govern, which led to this frustration where now Trump is just governing through executive orders. I get why he's doing it. I'm not comfortable with it. But having said that, this stems from congressional inaction.
It does.
And a dysfunction. That you look at, for example, let's not go into all the items of Signalgate and how stupid I think that whole thing was.
Right.
But in that chain, they are debating whether they should put it off a week or not. Okay, it's not an emergency. We could do it in a week. Blah 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 blah. And I'm sitting around reading the other one. This is another example where Congress has delegated all. If it's not an emergency, and we all recognize the president has the ability to act in an emergency militarily, but if it's not an emergency, why the heck wasn't Congress weighing in on that?
Right. Yeah.
If that was something that wasn't an emergency, which is when it is an emergency, the president has full authority. Whether it's Trump, Obama, I would never question that on an emergency. But if it's not an emergency, why is Congress not weighing in on whether they approve that strike or not?
Yeah, exactly right. And they're not there. I mean, they've abrogated their responsibility for whatever reason. I think part of it, they're so busy playing politics for the next elections, busy hating each other's business right now that they forgot they're supposed to be coming up with legislation that the president then has to carry out. And in the absence of that, what does the president do? He makes his own legislation, and then by absentia, then you have the courts now weighing in on the other side saying, okay, we got to check and see if that legislation called an executive order is okay or not. And so those two are going back and forth. And meanwhile, the Congress is busy having continuing resolution talks for the next 3 months instead of coming up with a budget for the year and doing what they're supposed to be doing in terms of making up laws and legislation we're supposed to govern by.
Yeah, and Congress's dysfunction has created a vacuum where I think the public just says, particularly people that are supportive of Trump, well, he's doing something.
Right.
You and I may not agree with everything he does, but to the public's mind, he's doing something. He's taking action. It all stems from Congress not doing its job.
The president's been talking about this third term business, and I think he's just musing, frankly. I think he's talking. Although, when Trump muses, you normally ought to, maybe you've learned from beginning of 2016, you sit up and listen, because he doesn't just muse. I mean, he's thinking about this stuff. Greenland and the Gulf of America and all that silliness. And, now we're talking about a third term. I'm opposed to that because it's not in the rules. Your thoughts about that?
So 2 things, probably more, but 2 to start. Number 1 is, I don't think anything this guy says lately. So if he's saying it, and he said, I'm not joking.
Yep.
Now, maybe he is, and sometimes he does it. Or sometimes it turns out he was doing it just to get people like you and me scattered into some different area. But I take it seriously. What's he talking about? What's his game plan? Because the Constitution is very clear.
Very clear.
You and I can have an interesting discussion one day about whether the 22nd Amendment was an overreach because Congress was mad that Franklin Roosevelt kept winning elections.
Yeah, had 4 terms that he got elected to.
So, and the pattern was, even though they weren't required, they would run for 2 and then they would step aside. Roosevelt kept winning. Was the 22nd Amendment an overreach? You could make that argument, and it should be up to the voters. Having said that, that is in there. And it does not say 2 consecutive terms. It says you can only be elected
10 years.
twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And 10 years. That's the cap, because that was what, came into play with LBJ and the Kennedy assassination. So that's the rule. It could not be any clearer. And when you read that, you're like, they are clearly not messing around with that language. Again, we want to get rid of that rule.
Right.
You can amend the Constitution, but that rule is right. So how he's thinking about this, I don't know, and I don't think he means it in some military coup.
I don't think any of that
that's
stuff.
What he's,
no.
I think I want to be clear. I don't think he's thinking about that stuff. I think he's talking about, how do I get to run and win again?
Right.
And the rule to me is very clear. He can't do it.
Yeah, it says no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice, and no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected. In other words, you serve out someone else's term more than 2 years, was elected president, shall be elected to the office of the president more than once. So in other words, up to 10 years, not another day beyond that. You can't go in as vice president, because the assumption is you're going to as vice president, you're going to serve as president possibly. So, yeah, I don't see any way around it as a scholar of this. But again, I frankly would love to hear what he's thinking on that and how he's getting around that. But popularity has its limits on this. Finally, we're looking at these 2 special elections in Florida and the Wisconsin Supreme Court election. I saw he pulled back his UN selection over the weekend because Stefanik, because guess what? I see what the mood of the people is right now. I saw what happened in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I'm not going to pull another one out of Congress right now because I don't want to lose my majority there. Your thoughts on what's happening there today?
Look, when the Democrats are winning in rural Lancaster County, I mean, congratulations to the senator-elect. But that is not what we – and look, I love Lancaster. It's a great community. But that part of Lancaster, I think it was the 1800s since they last elected a Democrat. Here is the pattern we see in Trump. And actually, it's been even the same with Obama. And that is, when they are on the ballot, Obama and Trump, it was a similar phenomenon, but obviously different parties and ideology. They would do well, and they would drag people in with them.
Right.
But when they are not on the ballot, Trump and Obama both got shellacked for whatever. I mean, and we could sit here and talk about why. That is the pattern of the Trump administration. When he is not on the ballot, his voters do not necessarily come to the polls. And the Democrats right now are highly energized.
Right.
And that Florida election, too, where the Democrat has raised something like $10 million.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
One U.S. House seat. I mean, I find that amazing for one U.S. House seat. But having said that, that's a Trump plus 30 district, and right now it's a coin flip race because the energy is on the side of the Democrats. But that's why he pulled Stefanik back. I mean, she was going to be the ambassador to the United Nations. They pulled that back because that district is not competitive in the normal sense, but right now it would be competitive if he didn't want to risk the Republican majority.
Yeah, we've had a number of special elections around the country where Trump won handily when he was on the ballot, but have been close or an upset like in Lancaster County. Now, in Lancaster County, I understand there were some other things involved, and yet at the same time, that still, to have that happen in that particular district, no matter what was involved, was really highly unusual. And Donald Trump is no dummy. He's looking around saying, all right, Stefanik, take one for the team. Stay at home, be a representative. We'll catch you later on maybe for an ambassador's job, right?
That's why I want to say this, too. That's why I don't buy the military coup stuff.
Right.
Because if he cared about that stuff, he would just tell Stefanik to go to the UN and cancel the election. Like that.
Yeah.
That's where that's why I don't fall into that rabbit hole.
That's radical stuff.
But I do think he's thinking of something on the 22nd.
Well,
that's why I don't follow it. That's why I don't go down the military coup rabbit hole.
I'm with you on that. Hey, thanks so much, my friend. Always good kind of slicing through stuff with you. And Maybe the Pirates will get better next week. You never know, right?
If it do, I'll be the first to crow Tuesday morning to you.
I will be waiting for that with eager ears. Thanks, my friend. Have a great week, all right?
You got it. You too.
Take care. Eugene DePasquale, former Auditor General, with us here this morning on the Gary Sutton Show as we slice through and try to do it in an examination way, not an indoctrination way. I'm not into the indoctrination. I'm into examination. That's what we do here. Examination and conversation. It's the Gary Sutton Show, the Main Street of America and York County, right here on WOYK. Back with more after this. It's 8:50. Sounds like Average White Band.
Cut the cake.
Yeah, they used to play a lot as a prelim band for Tower of Power. I went to a number of their concerts. And by the way, if you're looking to power to overcome depression, I've got a great new place for you to go. It's called the TMS Clinic right here in New York at 1806 North George Street. They're located right up there, just on the other side of Route 30 as you head out toward Manchester. And on the left-hand side, you'll see the sign there, the York TMS Clinic. What are they all about? They're all about tapping into a new possibility for adult depression. Yeah, they treat depression at the source. Yeah. If you think about a depressed brain, a lot of times it's kind of being an inactive, kind of a set of things going on there, very dark and just not working. What this does, they use something called the NeuroStar treatment to wake up those areas and help your brain work the way it should. It's like physical therapy for the brain. And if you want to find out more about it, you need to give them a call today at 717-430-0434 or 717-699-7361. You can also find info at YorkTMSclinic.com, and their website is YorkTMSclinic.com. You can go there, or you can stop by and see them. They're always ready to help you. Dr. ATN and all the good people over there want you to tap into these new possibilities right now. And this is a kind of instrument that they use, which is really, really relaxing. They put it on your head. There's like a 19-minute treatment. It's a new routine. You have the comfort of just kind of sitting there and almost sleeping while they're doing this. It's that much relaxation involved. I actually saw someone who was getting it done the one day and was talking to them, and they're just sitting back and relaxing. Now, they have a whole lot of these different kind of treatments, but they are ready to help you right now. If you are suffering from depression and you've tried a whole lot of things and they haven't worked, this might be a new possibility. Why don't you check it out today? York TMS Clinic, 1806 North George Street in York. Give them a call and tell them I sent you at 717-430-0434 or 717-699-7361. They are ready to help you today get over this awful thing called depression. I know I've dealt with it my whole life, and if you can find relief, this might be a brand new place. It doesn't take a reference. They accept most insurances, and they're ready to help you today. Please give it a shot. Info at YorkTMSclinic.com. Tell them Gary Sutton proudly sent you for possibly a new possibility that could help you out of depression. Mark?
Well, we're closing out the program, and I just noticed that April 1st what gets a lot of attention. It's the
April Fool's
the
crap.
jokes, yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
like when in 1996, so about 29 years ago, Taco Bell took out ads in I think 6 major newspapers, and the ad said that they had bought the Liberty Bell, and they were renaming it the Taco Liberty Bell.
Really?
Yes.
I like that. I mean, that has a little bit of wit to it. See,
Didn't hurt anybody.
No, it's okay. Yeah. And, I think that's good. A little bit of fun doesn't hurt on this day. It's the dumb stuff.
Now, there is some things that kind of get lost in the wash of history. So, like it was this date in 1984, Marvin Gaye, the great singer.
Dock of the Bay.
Shot to death by his own father.
Marvin Gaye Sr.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was on this
Don't
date.
ask for allowance again, son. I guess that ended that conversation.
It was on this date in 1970. President Nixon signed a measure that banned cigarette advertising on radio and television that would take effect the following January. That would be of 1971.
Right.
So those of us of a certain age remember, the Marlboro Man, da 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 da, and the smoking cigarettes and things. And
unfortunately, we also remember the song.
Yes,
which we sing. Unfortunately, sometimes we remember that.
And it was on this date. Let me see if I
be
have
remembering
time.
that all day.
It was on this date in 1998 that a U.S. district judge dismissed Paula Jones's lawsuit against then President Bill Clinton, saying that her claims of sexual harassment fell far short of being worthy of a trial. She appealed, and he settled out of court by the end of that year.
Yeah, paid a few bucks out. And
yes.
Anyway, coming up tomorrow here on the show, we've got Jeffrey Coleman in here at 7:05. He's the host of Morning Light and principal at Churchill Strategies. He'll join us there to talk about the issues of the day. And what about those 2 special elections and the Supreme Court election? We're going to keep our eye on that today. We'll also have Ryan Fox of Houston Fox Financial Advisory Services at 8:05 as we round up what's going on nationwide as far as the economy. I'm going to be heading out to Yanni's Gyros tomorrow at 12 o'clock for lunch. Julie Wheeler will be here at 8:35 tomorrow. And I want to remind you, this hour has been brought to you by York Computer Repair. And also, we are so happy to be joined by them every single Tuesday morning here on WOYK. I hope you have a great day. Thanks to Mark. Thanks to all of you for tuning in. Don't forget to text us at 833-478-4729. Tune in to our podcast. I'm Gary Sutton. It is 9 o'clock.